The female protagonist is exceptionally strong, while the male protagonist plays a supportive role. There is no sense of oppression throughout the narrative. In the 22nd century, the skilled agent and military doctor Su Qingning finds herself transmigrated into a novel as the bride of the war god male lead. Just as she was about to grow closer to her handsome husband, she is unexpectedly exiled with her in dash laws. Su Qingning is known for settling scores promptly, and that very evening, she empties the homes of all her enemies. By the next day, her stepbrother is executed, her stepmother and half-sister are left disfigured, and her scoundrel father and his family are reported for exile. The foolish emperor, upon witnessing the desolate palace, faints from anger. The royal family seeks to harm her family? No need to fear. Su Qingning orchestrates a clever scheme, pitting them against one another, allowing them to exhaust themselves in their infighting before she strikes decisively. Alongside her burgeoning abilities in wind, water, and wood manipulation, her spatial powers continue to unlock new potentials. Amidst chaos and natural disasters outside, Su Qingning's formidable space brims with resources, and together with her war god husband, they create a new paradise. Just when she thinks she can settle into a leisurely life as a wealthy lady, her husband plaintively requests, "My dear wife, I still require someone for the position of empress. I shall bear the storms, and you shall enjoy the blessings. Would you be my empress?" Su Qingning replies, "Very well." Transitioning from a leisurely wealthy lady to an even more affluent one is not out of the question. Chapter 1. The confrontation with the stepmother. In the grand empire of Deqian, in the flourishing city of Xinjiang, the banners of the Wang family fluttered high, and the sound of drums and gongs filled the air. Almost all the nobility of Xinjiang hurriedly gathered to celebrate the wedding of Wang Xiao Huaishua and the second daughter of the prime minister's residence, Su Qingyi. In stark contrast to the joyous atmosphere of the front hall, the bridal chamber was in disarray. Several maids were frantically trying to revive the bloodied and unconscious bride. "Xiaoer, what have you done? We are at the final stage of our plan, and you let this little wretch take the opportunity to crash into a pillar. If you all mess up the arrangements for the master and madam today, none of you will return unscathed." A matron with a face as wrinkled as a withered flower scolded the maidservants while lifting the unconscious Su Qingning. Recalling the terrifying punishments from Madame Shun, the young maids trembled and hurriedly attempted to assist Su Qingning. "Rong Mama, the eldest young lady. She is waking up. Silence. From now on, she is to be addressed as the second young lady. Speak out of turn again, and I shall tear your mouth apart." As Su Qingning felt a sharp pain in her head, she slowly opened her eyes. The ancient decor of the room left her bewildered. Who am I? Where am I? As a genius agent of the 22nd century, Su Qingning had risen to the position of chief military doctor in the special forces at a young age. Having recently completed a high-stakes mission with her team, she had gone out for a celebratory drink the previous night. How could she find herself in this place upon waking? Rong Mama? Second young lady? So, these ruffians dare to toy with her now. Just as Su Qingning prepared to retaliate, a searing pain coursed through her head, and a flood of foreign memories surged within her. "Goodness," she exclaimed in astonishment. She had transmigrated into a male-oriented novel she had read just 2 nights ago. The male lead, the war king, faced punishment from the foolish emperor and was exiled, leading to the demise of his entire family during their banishment. Devastated, the war king, Wang Xiao Huaishua, secretly gathered troops in exile, ultimately returning to the capital to become a legendary emperor. The original owner of this body shared her name. The scoundrel father, Su Qingxiang, was one of the masterminds behind the false accusations against the war king for treason. Knowing that the war king's family was about to be exiled, he arranged for the original owner to marry into the Wang family and assassinate the war king on their wedding night, in hopes of gaining favor with the foolish emperor. However, the original owner, like many young ladies of Deqian, admired the war king's legendary status on the battlefield. Reluctant to carry out the assassination but unable to resist her father's coercion, she ultimately crashed into a pillar and died. Now, Su Qingning, the military doctor from the 22nd century, had taken her place. As she pieced together the events, a sharp glint appeared in her eyes. It seems this original owner was merely a pitiful pawn. Nevertheless, it matters not. Having transmigrated, she would dictate the narrative from here on out. Those who wronged the original owner would not escape unscathed. In the midst of her thoughts, the maids had already tended to her head wound and applied makeup to her face. Rong Mama pointed at Su Qingning, angrily berating her. "You little wretch. You haven't been punished enough before your wedding. The master has already stated that if you fail to meet expectations, you will wish you were never born." Su Qingning regarded the matron's harsh visage, a murderous intent rising within her. The original owner's mother had passed away early, and her father had neglected her, allowing her stepmother, Madame Shun, to abuse her in various ways. Rong Mama had previously assisted Madame Shun in tormenting the original owner. However, Su Qingning had no time to deal with her now. She could settle the score later. She coldly commanded, "Get out, huh? This little wretch dares to speak to me like that." With her brows furrowed in anger, Rong Mama lunged forward, intending to slap Su Qingning. Yet, Su Qingning was quicker. In a flash, a golden hairpin flew from her hand, slicing a deep gash across Rong Mama's face, embedding itself into the wall behind her. Ah! Rong Mama cried out in pain. Her hand pressed to her face as blood oozed between her fingers. This is outrageous. How dare this fool strike me? Show her. Get her. Beat her to death. Su Qingming stood tall, exuding an intimidating presence. She suddenly produced several sharp golden hairpins. Repeat that. Get out. The maids, frightened by her fierce aura, hesitated to approach. Rong Mama trembled, pointing at her for a long moment, but ultimately dared not utter another word. With a parting threat, she fled with the other maids in disgrace. You little wretch. Just you wait. Madame Shen knows you are disobedient and has come along today. I will fetch her to deal with you. Su Qingming waved at their retreating figures, her face adorned with a sly smile. Indeed, she must bring her here. It is the perfect opportunity to settle both old and new scores. The room finally fell silent, and Su Qingming hastily secured the door, sinking into her personal space. Within her spatial realm stood a 9-story warehouse, with a crystal-clear spring at its entrance. In the world she had come from, which was on the brink of apocalypse, everyone scrambled to stockpile resources. She had amassed a considerable collection. The first floor served as her clinic, stocked with various medicinal herbs and medical equipment. The second and third floors housed tens of thousands of garments and daily necessities. The fourth and fifth floors were filled with various fruits, vegetables, and essential goods. Thanks to the preservation capabilities of her space, Su Qingming had even packed thousands of prepared meals from a 5-star hotel. The fifth and sixth floors were stocked with an extensive arsenal of weaponry. The top floor was her private sanctuary. Gazing at the neatly organized supplies, a profound sense of satisfaction filled her heart. These resources could sustain her for several lifetimes. Even if a famine struck for decades, she would remain unperturbed. Previously, she had been captivated by the male lead's striking looks and charisma while reading. Now that she had transmigrated, she would no longer be a waiting pawn. Could she perhaps live a life of wielding the world's power while indulging in the embrace of handsome men? Lost in her delightful reverie, a pink, translucent information box suddenly appeared before her. Secondary space upgrading, current progress. The unlocking of wind-based abilities and the spatial farm is imminent. The host is advised to complete the stockpiling task at the earliest. The system is indeed capable of imparting knowledge. Upon her arrival in this new realm, she is already granted an upgradable function. However, she ponders, with such a vast array of items stored in her space, the progress bar only reaches 10. How much must she accumulate to achieve 100? Would that require emptying the Emperor's private treasury? While she muses over this, a voice suddenly pierces the air, that of the system, Xiao Ai Nai Fu Fu. Sister Su. Your mother. No, I mean your stepmother. Well, the vile antagonist has come looking for trouble. Su Qingming's consciousness abruptly exits the space. Mimicking the original owner's habitual posture, she resumes her position on the happy bed. Bang! The latch is forcefully broken, and someone kicks the door wide open. The door slams against the wall with a resounding crash. Madame Shin storms in, accompanied by several burly maids, and without a moment's hesitation, she points at Su Qingming and begins to berate her. You little wretch, haven't you been punished enough this morning? Have you forgotten the tasks assigned to you? How dare you strike my people? Everyone, attack. Do not strike her in exposed areas, but beat her mercilessly elsewhere. Continue until she submits. Chapter 2. Male lead run. The Dog Emperor is about to seize the estate. Several fierce-looking servants immediately charge towards Su Qingming. She recognizes them all too well. They were the ones who often tormented the original owner. Showing no mercy, she swiftly grabs peanuts, red dates, and longan from the happy bed and hurls them at the assailants. Bang, bang, bang. A dozen rounded objects soar from Su Qingming's hands, hitting their targets with unerring accuracy. The servants are immediately met with painful blows to their heads, rolling on the ground clutching their skulls in agony. Madame Shun, too, suffers 3 swollen bumps on her head, resembling a grotesque figure. Blood flows freely, and the pain brings tears to her eyes as she collapses to the ground, gasping for breath. Oh dear, this little wretch dares to strike a senior in the family. She raises her hand, summoning the guard she brought with her. Everyone, attack. Spare no mercy. If I do not discipline this little wretch properly today, she will not understand her own worth. A fierce glint flashes in Su Qingming's eyes as she prepares to retaliate. However, an icy voice interrupts her thoughts. What are you doing? Su Qingming looks up to see a man of ethereal beauty, gliding towards her in a wheelchair. At a mere glance, Su Qingming recognizes him as the male lead of this narrative, her husband, the war prince, Xiao Huaisha. The reason is simple. His appearance is strikingly as described in the novel. With sword-like brows, starry eyes, a straight nose, and skin as fair as jade, his mere presence emanates the aura of a killer at every 10 steps, leaving no trace over 1,000 miles. He perfectly aligns with Su Qingming's aesthetic preferences. Unfortunately, not long ago, Xiao Huaisha suffered a betrayal at Lantian Pass, sustaining grave injuries that caused his old ailments to resurface, rendering his legs entirely Su Qingming feels a pang of sorrow for such a hero facing such adversity. In the latter part of the original text, Xiao Huaishua encounters a renowned physician who ultimately heals him. She resolves to find an opportunity to examine his pulse. Perhaps she could heal him too. Although the emperor harbors intentions to eliminate the war prince's household, Xiao Huaishua remains a formidable power in the Daqian dynasty. The group that had come to cause trouble trembles in fear. Madame Shen approaches, trembling, to offer her greetings. Your Highness. Miss Su, the second daughter of the Su family, has been spoiled since childhood and knows not the ways of propriety. I fear she might offend you, which is why I prepared to discipline her. Xiao Huaishua's expression remains inscrutable, yet his voice carries the weight of an impending storm. Madame Shen, the laws of Daqian are stringent. When did it become the privilege of a servant to discipline the war prince's wife? In Daqian's legal code, a concubine is akin to a servant. It is only due to the indulgence of the Chancellor Su towards his concubines that Madame Shen has grown accustomed to her tyrannical behavior. Xiao Huaishua's words strike Madame Shen like a bucket of cold water, awakening her to the reality of her situation, causing her to tremble uncontrollably. Yes, Your Highness is right. I shall never dare again. Please, Your Highness, consider this a first offense and spare me this once. Xiao Huaishua has no desire to engage with such individuals on his wedding night. He raises his hand and calmly instructs. Remove them. The war prince's residence does not welcome those who cannot distinguish between rank. The group hastily kneels to beg for forgiveness. As Madame Shen bows her head, a flicker of malice flashes in her eyes. Xiao Huaishua's days are numbered. The emperor intends to exile the entire Xiao family, and soon Xiao Huaishua's status will be inferior to even that of a concubine. To her surprise, in the next moment, the hidden guards behind Xiao Huaishua swiftly step forward, seizing Madame Shen and tossing her out. It was as if she were discarded refuse, sent flying far away. They then proceeded to hurl the servants Madame Shen had brought out of the courtyard with a series of resounding crashes, accompanied by the sickening sound of bones breaking and their cries of despair. Su Qingming nearly bursts into laughter. Xiao Huaishua's decisive methods are indeed to her liking. She sees him wheeling towards her. She quickly adopts a pose reminiscent of dramas and bows respectfully. In the presence of Su Qingming, Xiao Huaishua's demeanor softens noticeably. A faint smile graces his eternally stoic face as he places a warm oil paper package into Su Qingming's hands. Are you hungry? Here, have something to fill your stomach. I know you are truly the eldest daughter of the Su family, forced into this marriage. Rest assured, you are now my wife, and I shall treat you well. Currently, the emperor is closely watching the war prince's residence, and I cannot act recklessly. Once the situation settles, if you are unwilling to remain with this disabled man, I will draft a letter for our separation. Su Qingming clutches the pastry in her hands, warmth flooding her heart, and tears glisten in her beautiful peach blossom eyes. This moment, she disregards all else. Placing the pastry on the table, she extends her hand to take Xiao Huaishua's pulse. Do not move. I have learned medicine from my mother. Let me see if I can heal you. Xiao Huaishua dismisses her concerns. His leg ailment is beyond the expertise of even the revered physician Xue. How could a young girl diagnose it? Yet inexplicably, as he gazes into Su Qingming's determined eyes and observes her focused demeanor while taking his pulse, he feels as if she radiates a luminous glow. He cannot bring himself to stop her and quietly watches as she examines him. This poison was administered to you in your meals when you were very young. However, your innate constitution is remarkably robust, which is why it did not manifest until now. It was only recently, following your severe injury, that the poison revealed itself. Su Qingming pours him a cup of water. Actually, it is the essence from her spatial realm, and gently reassures him. Do not worry, I can neutralize this poison. In less than a month, you will be fully healed. Having encountered various bizarre poisons in her past life, this particular toxin is child's play for her. There is no need for specialized remedies. A month of drinking the essence will suffice. The flicker of astonishment crosses Xiao Huaishua's eyes. Though he harbors doubts about her claims, he instinctively accepts the cup from Su Qingming's hands and takes a cautious sip. Upon tasting it, he is overwhelmed with shock. The sweetness and clarity of the water are unlike anything served within the royal residence. What is even more terrifying is that he surprisingly feels a sense of comfort enveloping his entire being. The toxins that had long accumulated and suffocated him seem to have dissipated somewhat. What on earth is this water? It possesses such miraculous effects. To his astonishment, this newlywed princess appears delicate, resembling a tender sprout, yet she possesses such a treasure. Xiao Huaishua concealed the astonishment that played across his face and drank the spirit spring water in one gulp. Indeed, he felt a renewed lightness throughout his body. The previously numb and obstructed lower limbs seemed to be invigorated by a stream of ethereal energy, bringing forth a tingling sensation. As he lifted his gaze, he found Su Qingming smiling at him. Her crescent-shaped eyes and radiant smile warmed his heart unexpectedly. Before he could pose another question, Su Qingming abruptly dropped a bombshell. Your Highness, the Emperor intends to eliminate the Zhanwang mansion, sentencing its members to exile for the crime of treason. The decree is expected to be issued by tomorrow. She then produced a sealed letter from her bosom and handed it to him. Xiao Huaishua swiftly scanned the contents of the letter, his expression growing colder by the second. His hands unconsciously clenched tightly, knuckles turning white, veins bulging. Though his face betrayed little emotion, the chill emanating from him seemed to drop the room's temperature by several degrees. The valiant sons of the Zhanwang mansion had fought valiantly on the battlefield to protect their homeland, only to face the ignominy of being labeled as traitors in the end. The first precept of the Xiao family is loyalty to the emperor and love for the country. Yet this country belongs to others, and this emperor despises the Xiao family to the core. After generations of diligent devotion, their sacrifices were reduced to the mere accusation of treason. How could one not feel disheartened in the face of such a foolish emperor and a court rife with treachery? This letter had been stolen from his father's study. It subtly detailed how the original owner had assisted the crown prince in inciting the Zhanwang's trusted generals, leading to severe injuries on the battlefield and subsequently a debilitating leg ailment. It also outlined how they fabricated evidence to accuse the Zhanwang mansion of treason, perhaps fearing that the plot would be uncovered. The letter's language was exceedingly obscure. Nonetheless, Xiao Huaishua discerned the hidden meanings with ease. Ultimately, it boiled down to the emperor wanting his ministers dead, and the ministers being compelled to succumb. The emperor had instigated the crown prince to orchestrate this conspiracy against the Zhanwang mansion. Now, they could only feign ignorance and prepare for the impending decree of punishment from the emperor. Unable to restrain herself, Su Qingming gently patted Xiao Huaishua on the back, offering soothing words. Fear not. The tyrant emperor has always favored his hypocritical charades. He will likely only sentence the Xiao family to exile, possibly sending assassins to eliminate us on the road. A gentleman's revenge is not too late after 10 years. One day, we shall ensure that those who have wronged us pay the price. In truth, she thought that for her, even a day would be too late for revenge. She intended to make those scoundrels pay tonight. However, she refrained from voicing this sentiment, fearing it might alarm her dear husband. The dim candlelight cast a gentle glow on her smooth, delicate skin, and Su Qingming's tender expression nearly dazzled Xiao Huaishua. This was the first time he had heard someone refer to the emperor as a tyrant, and her audacious words elicited an involuntary smile from him, alleviating some of the pent-up frustration, resentment, and grievance within. People often claimed that the prime minister's daughter was timid and foolish. Yet, the lively and clever girl before him belied that rumor. He had long been aware of the emperor's intentions to eliminate the Zhanwang mansion and had been preparing an escape route in secret. Most of the Zhanwang mansion's influence had already retreated from the capital to the southern territories. However, too many people both domestically and abroad wished for his demise, making the path of exile fraught with peril. Contemplating this, he felt a sense of hopelessness creeping in. He turned to Su Qingming and said earnestly, "While the decree has not yet been issued, you should leave tonight. After all, it is the second miss of the Xiang family who is betrothed to me, not you." Su Qingming felt a warmth in her heart, but resolutely replied, "I will not leave. Even if I escape now, I would merely lead a life of anonymity, and returning to the prime minister's residence would subject me to their cruelty. It would be a fate worse than death. Instead, I would rather leave the capital with you, as there may yet be a glimmer of hope." Of course, there was another reason. According to the novel's plot, a devastating drought would soon engulf the capital for 4 years. The Zhanwang mansion, now sentenced to exile to the south, had inadvertently evaded that disaster. Xiao Huaishua intended to persuade Su Qingming further, but was interrupted by the butler of the mansion rushing in, clearly flustered. "Your Highness, the Emperor urgently summons you to the palace. It is eunuch Fu himself who has come with the imperial edict. I fear something grave has occurred." Xiao Huaishua managed to cast one last deep glance at Su Qingming before wheeling himself toward the front hall. Watching his proud, yet somewhat forlorn figure, Su Qingming felt a pang of pain in her heart. When she read this part in the novel, she merely sighed at the misfortune of talented individuals. Now, as a character within the story, she understood the harsh realities of the world and the treachery of human hearts. Fortunately, Xiao Huaishua returned from the palace unscathed. With that relief, Su Qingming seized the moment to dismiss the servants and remove the cumbersome jewelry she wore, storing it in her spatial realm. She changed into a more practical outfit, and, utilizing the spatial realm's teleportation ability, swiftly exited the Zhanwang mansion. If the tyrant emperor and his sycophantic ministers delight in confiscating properties and exiling families, then tonight, she would return the favor. None of those who conspired against the Zhanwang mansion would escape unscathed. In a flash, Su Qingming arrived at the prime minister's residence. Upon seeing the imposing and dignified imperial plaque at the entrance, a surge of hatred ignited within her. Recognizing this emotion as a remnant of the original owner's feelings, Su Qingming softly reassured herself, "Rest easy, I shall avenge you." Indeed, she felt the intensity of her hatred dissipate significantly. With a wave of her hand, she summoned the plaque from the prime minister's residence, along with the red tassels and adjacent couplets, into her spatial realm. She found the sight of it distasteful and deemed it perfect for kindling a fire. Next, With another wave, she collected the 2 bronze lions at the entrance, the gilded tiles, and the glazed roof tiles into her spatial realm. The gatekeeper, hearing the commotion, emerged to investigate. In the blink of an eye, the lantern he held vanished into thin air, and before he could cry out, Su Qingning swiftly rendered him unconscious with a decisive strike. Without delay, Su Qingning teleported into the storeroom of the Prime Minister's residence. The sight that met her eyes nearly blinded her. Good heavens, it was not the Zhan Wang who was preparing for rebellion, but this treacherous Prime Minister. The approximately 200 square meter room was overflowing with an array of gold, silver, jewels, fine silks, and precious antiques. Su Qingning's heart surged with joy. This immense wealth now belonged to her. Money. Money flowing in from all directions. Money falling like rain. What jade, emeralds, shimmering brocade, ice silk, 1,000-year-old ginseng, and century-old lingji. With a wave of her hand, she gathered it all into her spatial realm. In the blink of an eye, the vast storeroom was left with nothing but bare walls, stripped of tiles and bricks. The several young servants on night watch stared in disbelief as the storeroom transformed into an empty shell in an instant, their eyes bulging in shock. Before they could react, they suddenly felt an overwhelming wave of a potent sedative wash over them, and they collapsed to the ground in the grand residence of the Prime Minister. A relentless collection commenced. The granary was stripped of its millet, yellow rice, flour, and assorted legumes. The vibrant flowers in the backyard were uprooted entirely, while the fish in the pond, appearing quite splendid, were taken along with the pond and the ornamental rocks. In an instant, the storerooms of the Prime Minister's estate were left immaculate. The once resplendent garden transformed into a desolate expanse of dirt pits. Su Qingning moved swiftly to her next target. As she entered the kitchen, a rich aroma enveloped her. Upon lifting the pot lid, she discovered a large cauldron of tiger whip stew. The tales depicted Su Qingxiang, robust even in his 50s, continually bringing in concubines, which she now surmised was due to his daily indulgence in such dishes. Disgusted, Su Qingning cast the lid aside and waved her hand, collecting all the oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, tea, pots, bowls, and an array of vegetables and pastries into her space. The kitchen was left pristine, save for the immovable stove, with not a single grain of rice in sight. The corner where a nest of rats had been now lay silent, as they scurried away in a flurry, cursing and muttering as they relocated. Thinking of leaving a thread of hope for future encounters, she returned the tiger whip to the stove, sprinkling 3 times the amount of castration medicine into it. Excessive vitality leads to calamity. Thus, it must be forever curtailed. Father, see how benevolent I am. I have resolved a significant matter for your future. Without lingering, Su Qingning vanished into the courtyard of her elder brother. Su Qingade as she landed. The sounds from within startled her to the brink of falling from the roof. Chapter 4. Emptying the Prime Minister's residence. Peering through the tiles, Su Qingning's eyes widened in shock, feeling as though her vision had been sullied. Below, the room was ablaze with light, filled with a foul atmosphere. Su Qingji, the eldest son of Madame Shan, was engaged in a game of blindfolded catch the concubine, with several young servants in his 20s. Su Qingji was portly and adorned with a pair of pink undergarments on his head, stumbling about the room in utter disarray, clad in nothing but his skin. The young servants, similarly sparse in attire, squealed in a high-pitched voice as they darted around the room. Come catch me, come catch me. If you catch me, I'll let you. Suddenly, Su Qingji lunged forward, seizing one of the fleeing servants, a crooked grin on his face. Little rascal, where do you think you're running? In the next moment, all the luxurious decorations, scattered garments, and toys in the room, along with everything Su Qingji wore, vanished without a trace. What was once an opulent Qingfeng courtyard was now reduced to bare walls. Even the meticulously maintained lawn was uprooted, leaving only a patch of uneven soil. Chaos erupted in the room as the young servants, bare and bewildered, covered their heads and fled. Ghost. There's a ghost. No, could it be? The mistress has returned. Nonsense. How could there be a ghost? That wretched goo has long since descended into hell. You fools. Hurry and help me up. Bang. A black spirit tablet suddenly fell from the ceiling, landing squarely on Su Qingji's head, spilling its contents all over him. Ugh. What are you waiting for? Quickly, get this toilet off me. Ugh. Su Qingji's large head became stuck in the toilet. As he cried for help, the foul contents began to invade his mouth. Gagging, he struggled to call for assistance, tears streaming down his face as the putrid stench overwhelmed him, causing his entire body to tremble. It took all the strength of the young servants to free Su Qingji's head from the toilet. As soon as he was exposed to fresh air, he shouted in fury, "Scoundrels! How dare anyone toy with me? Search for them, and if that dog thief is caught, execute him on the spot." Bang! A black spirit tablet struck Su Qingji's forehead and fell to the ground. Ignoring the swelling on his head, he read the inscription on the wooden plaque, which bore the name of his deceased wife, Gu, and instantly wet himself in terror. Ghost! Gu, do not come for me. It was Madame Shun who made me do it. It's not my fault. Please don't come for me. Su Qingming observed the chaos within, a cold smile creeping onto her lips. The original mother, Gu, was the daughter of a wealthy merchant. Yet, her despicable father was a poor country boy who, after gaining success through his father-in-law's support, neglected Gu, allowing his childhood sweetheart, Madame Shun, to torment her. Ultimately, Gu fell victim to the machinations of Madame Shun and her son. What Su Qingming was doing now was merely reclaiming a portion of the interest owed for the injustices suffered. She would exact revenge for the blood-soaked grievances of her original self. Piece by piece, in a flash, Su Qingming reappeared in Madame Shun's quarters. At that moment, Madame Shun had already retired for the night. The room was adorned in lavish decor, and precious fragrances wafted through the air. Once a mere impoverished villager, Madame Shun, after causing Gu's demise, had taken advantage of the original's youthful ignorance to claim Gu's substantial dowry as her own. The treasures within this room were predominantly the original mother's dowry, aside from a small portion accumulated through the Prime Minister's corrupt dealings over the years. Without mercy, Su Qingming tossed a packet of potent sleeping powder onto the bed. With a wave of her hand, all the possessions in the room were swept away. Bang! The exquisite bed, along with all its linens and bedding, vanished, leaving Madame Shun to tumble unceremoniously to the ground, blissfully unaware, snoring loudly. Su Qingming approached, seizing Madame Shun's hair, and poured various powders, freckle powder, rash powder, and wrinkle powder, onto her face. You enjoy pushing others to their limits, making the original and her mother suffer unspeakably, do you not? Now, I shall allow you to experience what it means to be truly miserable. Oh dear, it seems I poured too much on the left side. Let's add a bit more to the right. Oh no, now there's too much on the right. Let's balance it out with a little on the left. Oops, my hand slipped. Now it's all covered. With an innocent expression, Su Qingming dumped an excessive amount of rash powder onto Madame Shun's face. Finally, she flicked the packaging, emptying the remaining powder onto her. How delightful. What a sight. Those luscious sausage lips, that undulating face, those features akin to desolate mountains. Surely, they would leave your childhood sweetheart utterly bewitched. In another blink, she found herself in Madame Shun's private treasury. Su Qingming promptly collected the mountain of clothing, jewelry, and daily necessities into her space. Those used garments and intimate items made her skin crawl. She promptly discarded them into the built-in refuse pit of her space. In mere moments, Madame Shun's Luome courtyard was left barren, save for 3 cockroaches sprawled at the entrance. Su Qingming glanced at the cockroaches and strode away. One cannot be too ruthless. In the morning, when Madame Shun awakens to find no food, she could at least gnaw on these 3 pests to survive, thus avoiding a slow demise from starvation. Ah, Su Jie is simply so benevolent. In another flash, Su Qingming arrived on the roof of her half-sister, Su Qingyin. Inside, the flickering candlelight illuminated the scene as a maid was helping Su Qingyin remove her makeup. Upon settling in, she overheard a hushed yet deliberate conversation taking place within. Su Qingming crouched on the roof, pressing her ear against the tiles to discern the details of the discussion within. Upon hearing this, she was infuriated, her fists clenching with a crackling sound. Chapter 5. Emptying the Imperial Palace. Seated before her vanity, Su Qingyin pounded her chest and stomped her feet, sighing heavily. Alas, how could the illustrious Zhan Wang now be reduced to a mere pawn for that wretched Su Qingming? The maid quietly consoled her. Miss, do not be disheartened. There will be plenty of fine young men in the capital for you to choose from. The Zhan Wang is now incapacitated, and with Su Qingming marrying him tonight, the Zhan Wang Fu will soon face confiscation. The people there will surely regard her as a harbinger of doom. How can she expect to have a good life thereafter? Imagining Su Qingming enduring a life worse than that of livestock, a malicious smile crept across Su Qingyin's face. However, it was not long before her expression soured again. But, Shower, I cannot forget him. Xiao Huaishua was a figure of great merit and unmatched beauty, the dream of many noble ladies in the capital. Su Qingyin had resorted to some cunning tricks to secure an engagement with him. Only recently had she learned that the emperor intended to punish Xiao Huaishua, which reluctantly led her to have Su Qingming marry in her stead. Yet her heart was in turmoil, akin to a cat scratching inside her chest. She could not forget the image of Xiao Huaishua, clad in armor, riding at the forefront amidst the cheers of the people upon his return. Shower, with her beady eyes darting about, whispered a suggestion. Miss, after tonight, the Zhan Wang Fu will be filled with criminals. In terms of status, they will be no better than common servants. If you truly cannot forget the Zhan Wang, perhaps it would be best to wait until the exile procession has moved far from the capital, and have him abducted. You could keep him secretly in your villa on the outskirts of the city. Once his leg injury is healed, he could serve as your personal bodyguard. She emphasized the word personal. Su Qingyin envisioned the once mighty Zhan Wang soon becoming her private possession, utterly obedient to her will. Her face flushed crimson with embarrassment. After a few moments of feigned modesty, she said, Then, let us proceed as you suggest. The road of exile typically has many soldiers escorting it. Our guards will not suffice. Tomorrow, take 10,000 taels to hire the Zi Jiao from the rivers and lakes. They specialize in such matters and will surely succeed. Meanwhile, Su Qingning, hidden atop the roof, was seething with rage, her teeth grinding audibly, her hands trembling uncontrollably. This family was truly beyond the pale. Her father, Su Qingxiang, had plotted to frame loyal ministers who fought for the nation, and now his daughter, Su Qingyin, dared to hire someone to abduct Xiao Huaisha, reducing the esteemed war god of Deqian to her plaything. Not particularly beautiful, yet her ambitions were grand. Since they were so malicious, they should not blame her for abandoning moral principles. Su Qingning scattered a packet of potent sleeping powder into the room. The two immediately collapsed to the floor in disarray. With a swift motion, she entered the room, dusting Su Qingyin and her maid with the same concoction. Then with a wave of her hand, she gathered all the belongings in the room into her space. Feeling further irked, she stripped Su Qingyin of her clothes, undergarments, and footwear, unceremoniously tossing her out with a loud bang. Su Qingyin's face swelled grotesquely, her once fair visage now marred with pustules. What was once a reasonably attractive face had turned hideous, a patchwork of red and green. Stripped bare, she hung like a ragged plastic bag on the courtyard wall. Let her await the surprise of her life. Who would be the first to discover her in the morning, the gatekeeper or the cleaning servant? In any case, they would all share in her misfortune. Noting that time was of the essence, Su Qingning quickly rifled through the remaining rooms and made her way to Su Qingxiang's study. Upon entering, she sensed that the arrangement here concealed deeper secrets. At that moment, her spatial steward, Xiao Ai, excitedly chimed in. Sister Su, there are crucial plot clues hidden in the desk's secret compartment. With a swift motion, Su Qingning reached the desk and effortlessly opened the hidden compartment. The thick stack of letters and accounts tumbled into her hands. Upon inspection, she exclaimed in astonishment. These were all secret correspondences and records of bribes exchanged between her worthless father and various ministers over the years. This detail had not been mentioned in the novel, yet she had stumbled upon it fortuitously. The stack of letters was swiftly stored in her space, a wicked smile flickering across her fair face. Corruption and malpractice were grave offenses. It seemed her journey of exile would not be solitary after all. After clearing out the Su residence, Su Qingning proceeded to the residences of the Crown Prince and several key ministers who had conspired against the Zhanwang. Like a locust swarm, she left no trace behind. Unfortunately, time was too tight, and she could not uncover any incriminating evidence against the Crown Prince. Otherwise, she would have gladly dealt with all her enemies in one fell swoop. But no matter, soon, the northern region would suffer a drought, and everyone would flee southward. At that time, she would seize the opportunity to deal with the Crown Prince and the Emperor. Surveying the treasures piled high in her space, Su Qingning felt immense satisfaction. With another flash, she arrived at the Imperial Palace, commencing a new wave of plunder. Empty, empty, empty. The Emperor's private treasury, the Imperial Medical Bureau, the Department of Garments, the granaries, all emptied. With her intervention, nothing remained. Wherever she went, the walls and floors were stripped bare. If the Emperor could still enjoy a warm meal tomorrow, it would be considered a loss for Su Qingning. All the precious items, such as donkey hide gelatin, deer antler, bird's nest, and thousand-year snow lotus, were taken away. Exhausted, she even tore apart a dragon robe to wipe her sweat, and used a piece of phoenix robe to clean her shoes. The Emperor's confiscation and exile would implicate his entire lineage. She also made sure to plunder all the concubines, which was hardly excessive, was it? Collect, collect, collect. Underwear and garments were tossed into the latrine, while the Emperor's other clothing, even if not worn, was all taken. What was this? Su Qingning's eyes sparkled as she discovered a massive chest hidden deep within the Emperor's wardrobe. Pulling it out, lo and behold, a whole chest of lace garments from the West. To her surprise, despite being over 50 and rather portly, the Emperor was an enthusiast of women's clothing. Imagining the Emperor's hefty figure clad in a pure white lace garment with thick body hair protruding from the lace seams, Su Qingning felt her eyes sustaining 1,000 points of injury, too lazy to even give it another glance. She hastily tossed everything into her space designated for garbage. Su Qingning swiftly cleared out the entire imperial palace, leaving no corner untouched. Seeing that the lights in the council chamber were still on, she suspected that the Emperor was still dealing with the matter of the Xiao family's treason. In a flash, she appeared in a concealed spot on the roof of the council chamber. As soon as she landed, a loud crash echoed from within, followed by the sound of shattered pottery. Realizing something was amiss, Su Qingning hurriedly crouched down and lifted a piece of tile to observe the situation inside. Chapter 6. Shock. The Dog Emperor stripped in court. Inside, many of the Emperor's trusted ministers stood present. Xiao Huaisha sat upright in his wheelchair, positioned closest to the Emperor among the assembly. The old Emperor seemed greatly agitated. His sparse beard quivered as his corpulent body shook. Pointing at Xiao Huaisha, he bellowed. Zhanwang, how could I have placed such trust in you? I never expected you would commit such treasonous acts, colluding with the enemy. With a hand as plump as a pig's trotter, he seized a teacup from the table and hurled it toward Xiao Huaisha's forehead. Bang! Xiao Huaisha remained silent. enduring the blow with unwavering composure. The smooth, jade-like skin on his forehead suddenly blossomed into a large crimson mark, as fresh blood trickled down the exquisite line of his J-A-W. In that moment, the sensation of shattering was palpable, causing Su Qingming's heart to clench involuntarily. With a series of shattering sounds echoing, the emperor was infuriated beyond measure. Wang of War. At this juncture, with irrefutable evidence, what further justification do you have? The old emperor's acting skills were truly remarkable that he had clearly conspired with a group of trusted ministers to falsely accuse the Wang of treason, yet he now played the role of the victim with equal fervor. Were it not for the overwhelming numbers on the opposing side, Su Qingming would undoubtedly have presented him with an Oscar statuette. Xiao Huaishua continued to sit in quietude. Although he had long been aware of the emperor's intentions to eradicate the Xiao clan, hearing such words from the ruler they had faithfully served was still a burden too heavy to bear. From a young age, he had been taught by his father and brothers to be loyal to the emperor and love the country. Every day spent honing his martial skills was for the purpose of fighting on the battlefield, defending the land beneath his feet with his own blood. At the age of 10, he accompanied his father and brothers to war. Surrounded by 30,000 soldiers of the southern Qi, their own 3,000 were besieged. Even in their direst moments, his father had never entertained the thought of surrendering to the enemy, seriously imparting to them, "Children, remember this, to eat the emperor's rations is to serve him loyally. Even if we die today, we shall not surrender to the enemy nor allow them to trample upon the land of Deqian." A naive 10-year-old, he had merely nodded along, yet his father's words had etched themselves deeply into his heart. Having served in the military for many years, he had participated in nearly 100 battles, and in the most challenging times, he would recall his father's words resolutely. Rejecting the enemy's offers of capitulation, now, with his father and brother's fates unknown at the borders, the treacherous emperor dared to slander the Xiao clan as traitors, seeking to annihilate them. Explain? What is there left to explain? It is merely the Xiao clan's merit that has stirred the emperor's jealousy. How absurd. Truly, how absurd. Father, brothers, look closely at the ruler you have pledged your loyalty to. Xiao Huaishua could not suppress his laughter. His voice, clear and resonant as stones striking against each other, reverberated throughout the grand hall, imbued with profound indignation, bitterness, and rage, causing all present to tremble. Ha ha ha. What a tale of treason. Should I produce evidence of my innocence? Will your majesty spare the Xiao clan? Ha ha ha. Truly remarkable. Who could have imagined that I, Xiao Huaishua, who has never faced defeat, would meet my end not on the battlefield, but at the hands of my own sovereign whom I have loyally defended? In that moment, the values instilled in Xiao Huaishua since childhood shattered, leaving him agitated as he pointed an accusing finger at the courtiers. Ha ha ha. What is there for the Xiao clan to explain? It is merely the fate of a hunted rabbit that befalls the loyal dog. Today's downfall of the Xiao clan is but a prelude to your own demise. A foolish emperor is a calamity for the nation. The ministers were taken aback, not expecting Xiao Huaishua, driven to desperation, to dare to insult the emperor himself. Upon reflection, they realized the truth. This emperor, petty and vindictive, had turned against the Xiao clan after using them, intent on eradicating them entirely. On the day they too lost their value, would they not share the same fate as the Xiao clan? The grand hall fell into a hushed silence, as the ministers recoiled in fear, their necks instinctively retreating. Several influential ministers began to calculate their own escape plans, contemplating retirement from court life. The old emperor felt as if his secrets had been laid bare by Xiao Huaishua, never anticipating that even in his moment of peril, he would be outmaneuvered. Zhao's words severed any remaining loyalty from his trusted advisors. Furious, he pointed at Xiao Huaishua and bellowed, "Very well. How brazen of you, Xiao Huaishua, to insult the emperor in court and still claim loyalty to the crown. The evidence of your treason is irrefutable, and there is no need for further explanation. Guards, seize Xiao Huaishua." Before he could finish, the ornate dragon throne beneath him vanished into thin air, causing the old emperor to fall unceremoniously to the ground. He felt as though his rear had been crushed, pain shooting through him as he gasped for breath. Alas! Who dares to mock me? Yulanwei, hurry and apprehend the assassin. Dozens of shadowy figures darted away at his command. The emperor, sprawled across the gilded hall, found Xiao Huaishua nearest to him, the perfect moment to strike. He grasped the emperor's hand, trembling slightly, a glint of murderous intent flashing in his phoenix-like eyes. Yet, contemplating the repercussions of assassinating the treacherous emperor, he realized that the entire Wang household, including women and children, would surely fall victim to the Imperial Guard's onslaught. Suppressing the urge to kill, he carefully helped the fallen emperor to his feet. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a figure flitting past the rafters and was momentarily taken aback. Was that his little Wang Fei? Fortunately, his mental fortitude held strong, allowing him to quell the shock that surged within him. He understood that his little Wang Fei was seeking vengeance on his behalf, and his heart swelled with gratitude, alleviating much of the indignation he had harbored. He shifted his position slightly, obstructing the emperor's line of sight. After a laborious effort, the emperor managed to catch his breath. Upon lifting his gaze and seeing Xiao Huaishua, he instinctively pushed him away in fright. However, this loss of balance caused him to tumble once more. Alas! Cursed fate! Guards! Seized Xiao Huaishua. Suddenly, the ceiling rained down a flurry of white fabric, reminiscent of celestial flowers scattering from the heavens. Initially, the ministers believed it to be a novel assassination tactic, prompting them to huddle together in panic, calling for help. Help! Protect the emperor! Quick! Protect the emperor! After calling out for some time without a response, they opened their eyes wide, scanning their surroundings. Upon realizing what had fallen, the ministers turned crimson with embarrassment. The solemn and dignified council hall was now strewn with lace garments from the west. Various styles adorned the floor, revealing, tied with ribbons, adorned with leashes, embellished with bows, and even with bunny tails. The array was astonishing. Even the notoriously flamboyant crown prince felt his pulse quicken, mentally noting several peculiar designs. Several esteemed elder ministers flushed red, covering their eyes while exclaiming, "Such disgraceful behavior," yet peeking through their fingers. The more they looked, the faster their hearts raced, eager to leave the court and return home for some passionate encounters with their concubines. The old emperor, seeing the familiar garments, felt his face flush with rage, his blood pressure soaring. How dare you? How dare you, scoundrel, to cast such filth upon the council hall? Yulinwei, go to the roof and search. Capture this rogue, and I shall have him torn asunder. Before he could finish, the emperor felt a sudden chill as his dragon robe vanished, revealing the latest lace garments beneath. The crown prince. The ministers. Xiao Huaishua, what a thrilling moment. His little Wang Fei was truly formidable. Chapter 7. Joyous Tidings. The council hall plundered. The emperor's rotund chest was adorned with two almost transparent garments, between which dangled a peach-pink bell. The dense hair on his chest stubbornly peered through the gaps in the sheer fabric, swaying gently in the summer breeze. The sight of his exposed midriff subtly revealed the profound loneliness of the palace concubines. The entire assembly of civil and military officials was left speechless, jaws nearly dropping to the floor. Although the emperor is often seen as foolish and incompetent, frequently executing loyal ministers and valiant generals unjustly, he nonetheless presents a dignified appearance, exuding an aura of imperial authority. Who would have imagined that, behind closed doors, he is an ardent aficionado of lace, a cross-dresser who stands at the forefront of fashion trends? The court ministers struggled to suppress their laughter, their faces shifting through shades of blue, red, and purple, resembling a painter's palette. The scene before them was utterly explosive. Henceforth, merely encountering the old emperor would likely provoke suppressed laughter, making it difficult to focus on matters of state. As the old emperor regained his composure, he hastily covered his most vulnerable areas. Infuriated, his eyes rolled back, and he emitted sounds akin to a malfunctioning air blower, taking considerable time to catch his breath. Scoundrel! How dare you humiliate the sovereign in court? Yulinwei! Yulinwei! Seize! Seized in a moment of urgency, Prime Minister Su stepped forward, draping his ceremonial robe over the emperor and positioning himself protectively in front of him. Your Majesty, please remain calm. This matter is undoubtedly the cunning scheme of the traitorous Northernly Kingdom. Their intent is to humiliate you in court, thus undermining the morale of our great Qian. With Yulinwei's intervention, we shall surely capture those miscreants and administer severe punishment, restoring the dignity of our great Qian. His impassioned words moved the old emperor to tears, filling the other ministers with profound shame. It is no wonder that Su Bingsheng is the prime minister. While others were lost in fanciful thoughts, he was the first to come forth to rescue the emperor from embarrassment. His remarks not only demonstrated loyalty, but also deftly attributed today's farce to the enemy nation, smoothly glossing over the matter of the emperor's cross-dressing. The old emperor's eyes glistened with emotion as he gently patted Prime Minister Su's hand. Indeed, it is you, Prime Minister Su, who truly understands me. None in the court can rival your loyalty. Prime Minister Su gazed steadfastly at the emperor. His tear-filled eyes reflected a blend of fervor, loyalty, grievance, and a quiet resolve to keep his achievements hidden, perfectly capturing the atmosphere. Just then, a sudden commotion erupted. Yulinwei had thoroughly searched every corner of the hall moments ago, finding not a single shadow. Now, inexplicably, countless white papers floated down from the hall's peak, blanketing the old emperor's face. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Su was still kneeling on the ground, tears streaming as he professed his loyalty, calculating that the emperor, in his excitement, might even reward him with the title, Your Majesty. Do not fear. My loyalty is as evident as the sun and moon. I would sacrifice this old life to ensure your safety. The emperor felt a warm surge in his heart, but was simultaneously infuriated by the elusive intruder. Frowning deeply, he snatched the papers that had struck his face and took a glance. Upon seeing the content, his anger surged, and with a swift roll of his eyes, he expelled a mouthful of blood. The papers contained evidence of Su Qingning's embezzlement and bribery, which he had retrieved from the Prime Minister's study. All the ministers present could clearly see the contents, trembling in fear as they took several steps back. They were taken aback to discover that the seemingly righteous Prime Minister Su had secretly accepted so many bribes. However, Prime Minister Su was so entrenched in his performance that he failed to notice the eerie atmosphere in the hall, still wailing before the old emperor. "Your Majesty, what has happened to you?" Summon the royal physician. Quickly summoned. Before he could finish, the emperor, having regained his composure, glared fiercely and delivered a forceful rebuke. "Begone! All of you get out! Fu Gong Gong! Drag this dog thief, Su Bingsheng, away. Order the Dali Temple to thoroughly investigate the Prime Minister's bribery case." The hall fell silent, the ministers barely able to contain their laughter. Privately, everyone was acutely aware that the traitorous actions of the War King's residents were all sanctioned by the old emperor, a performance orchestrated by the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Su. Who could have anticipated that within mere moments, both the perpetrator and the victim would be apprehended? It was truly akin to lifting a stone only to crush one's own foot, a timeless farce. As this realization dawned upon them, the ministers instinctively recoiled. The mastermind behind this was indeed a person of extraordinary capability, capable of disturbing the court so profoundly. It would be best not to draw the attention of that divine figure, lest they too face confiscation and exile. Prime Minister Su had been proudly proclaiming his unwavering loyalty when the emperor's decree struck him like a bucket of cold water. Upon discerning the contents of the letter, his eyes nearly bulged from their sockets. With no time to ponder, he hurriedly pleaded for clemency. "Your Majesty, I am wronged. Begone!" The old emperor kicked him far away, gasping in pain, and hastily commanded, "Xiao Fuzi, to Qiankuan Palace, Your Majesty. Qiankuan Palace has been completely ransacked. It is now nothing but an empty shell." "What? How is that possible?" The old emperor clutched his chest, taking a long time to catch his breath. "Let us set that aside. To Fengkuan Palace. I must lie down." Your Majesty, Fengkuan Palace has also been plundered. It fared even worse than Qiankuan Palace. The walls and floors were stripped bare. Fu Gong's voice grew quieter with each word, his fear causing him to nearly bury his head in the ground. The emperor was incensed, his breathing becoming increasingly labored, on the verge of fainting. "Very well. Splendid. We shall not go to Fengkuan Palace. Bring me a soft couch." Summoned the royal physician. Before the eunuch bearing the couch could return, someone hurriedly reported, Your Majesty, the royal hospital has also been completely looted. The imperial kitchen is empty. The granary is empty as well." As if to confirm the reports of the eunuch, in the next moment, the opulent assembly hall was suddenly vacant. Vacant. The ministers looked around, their shock shattering their perspectives. This grand assembly hall was utterly devoid of life. Chapter 8. With my powers, great Qian shall prevail. Within moments, all the hundreds of candles, the writing implements on the tables, and even the gilded embellishments on the pillars vanished without a trace. A profound darkness enveloped the hall, causing the crowd to panic and flee. In the ensuing chaos, it was a cacophony of shouts and confusion. "Protect the emperor! Protect the emperor! Yulin Wei, why aren't you capturing the thieves yet? Come back. We don't need so many to catch a thief. Protect his majesty first. Hey, who stepped on me? Don't step on me." Many of the military generals, already discontent with the dog emperor, took advantage of the darkness and, unable to see, stepped on him several times. Su Qingming clapped her hands in satisfaction, concealing her achievements and reputation. According to the original plot, the dog emperor, wary of Xiao Huaishua, would administer a debilitating potion to him that night. Stripped of his martial prowess and paralyzed, the journey into exile would be exceedingly arduous. Now, with the dog emperor preoccupied, he had no time to deal with Xiao Huaishua. As they were both taken away by the imperial guards, followed by the eunuch delivering orders and the imperial guard commander, Su Qingming swiftly returned to the War King's residence to begin emptying it. The Xiao family sons had amassed remarkable military achievements throughout generations, receiving continuous royal rewards. The treasures in the storerooms were countless. Since they would inevitably be searched before their exile, the Xiao family members would be unable to take anything with them. It was better to store these items in her space for the time being, to be delivered to them once they reached their destination. Su Qingming's movements became increasingly proficient, clearing several rooms in the blink of an eye. She then swiftly emptied the storerooms of the War King's residence and the private caches of the individuals. Little AI in her space was equally thrilled, quickly categorizing the collected items. She hummed a cheerful tune. The screen flickered with excitement. Family members, who understands this? Binding oneself to such a diligent host brings numerous benefits. In the future, when returning home for a visit, he can hold his head high while conversing with others. Xiao AI exclaimed. Sujia, I feel an overwhelming surge of energy coursing through my body. It seems I am about to level up. Su Qingming also sensed something unusual within her and quickly took a seat. A formidable force surged forth from her dantian, instantly coursing through her entire being. Suddenly, she felt a gentle breeze swirling around her fingers, and her body became remarkably light and comfortable. An ethereal pink, semi-transparent information box appeared in her mind. Congratulations, host. Level 2 space upgrade successful. You have unlocked wind-type abilities and a level 1 space farm. Immediately, another information box popped up. Level 3 space upgrading. Current progress, 10. Unlocking water-type abilities and a level 2 space farm. Please complete the stockpiling tasks promptly. With a swift movement, Su Qingming entered the space and discovered a small farm of about 100 acres beside the warehouse building. Excitedly rubbing her hands together, she urged Xiao AI to herd the various livestock they had previously gathered into the enclosure, while she chose seeds for rice and vegetables to plant in the empty fields. Xiao AI energetically exclaimed, and soon managed to classify and drive hundreds of chickens, ducks, cows, and pigs into their respective enclosures. They even dug a large pond in a corner of the farm and released various fish they had collected from the Imperial Garden, East Palace, and several noble residences. With another burst of effort, a water channel encircling the farm was instantly formed. The source of the channel connected to a spiritual spring, allowing water to flow freely, automatically irrigating the plants and rice. The surplus grains they had gathered were neatly piled up, scheduled to be delivered to the livestock's feeding troughs at regular intervals. In essence, Su Qingming merely had to speak, while Xiao AI did the hard work. The partnership of a host and system made tasks effortless. Su Qingming thought about how soon she would be able to savor the fruits grown using the water from the spiritual spring, and she couldn't help but gulp. Xiao AI, what is the difference between level 2 space and level 1 space? Xiao AI did not expect this host to be so easy to manage. Having traversed only a day, she had already upgraded her space, her voice filled with excitement. Su Jia, level 1 space is a small farm, while level 2 space is a medium-sized farm, larger in area and capable of growing more rice plants. Su Jia, you have no idea. There are countless wonders in this space. Stock up more, and you can unlock a seaside villa, a hospital, a cinema, advanced techniques, and top-tier mythical beasts. There is nothing unattainable for you. Xiao AI's voice carried a seductive tone, akin to a big bad wolf luring a little rabbit. Su Qingming understood Xiao AI's intentions. It was simply a matter of her diligently completing tasks, while the system would also reap many benefits. By the way, how do I use this wind-type ability? Su Jia, you must try it. This is my first time seeing this. You can now control the flow of wind with your mind. As soon as she spoke, a gust of wind swept through, sending a doghouse and 2 dogs that were cuddling nearby, flying far away with a loud thud. The 2 yellow dogs that had come from the Prime Minister's residence felt a sudden sense of weightlessness before crashing heavily to the ground. They leapt up, baring their teeth and barking angrily at Su Qingming. Su Qingming met their gaze with cold defiance, standing her ground. Keep barking. If you do, I'll make dog stew for supper tonight. The 2 dogs immediately wilted, tucking their tails between their legs and scampering away, whimpering. Su Qingming rubbed her hands together in satisfaction. This skill was impressive. It could even be used to scare people occasionally. With a flash of thought, as soon as Su Qingming exited the space, she heard the loud, grating voice of the eunuch announcing the imperial decree at the entrance. The imperial edict has arrived. The War King and his household are summoned to receive the decree. The residents of the War King's mansion were now all prisoners, and the messenger showed no sign of the usual flattery. The sound of drums echoed loudly, attempting to rouse those inside. Within moments, the elite guards surrounded the entire mansion, leaving no escape. After the commotion, everyone emerged from the courtyard. Seizing the brief moment of distraction, Su Qingming quickly scavenged the rooms where everyone stayed, before joining the others in the main hall. Upon entering, she immediately spotted Xiao Huaishua sitting at the front of the crowd as the sun began to rise above the horizon. Its golden rays illuminated his excessively pale face, creating a fragmented sense of beauty. He remained upright in his wheelchair. Now that the dust had settled, he was aware that the Xiao family could not escape exile, yet he appeared remarkably composed. His vigilant eyes remained fixed on the elite guards, wary of any misconduct towards the women of the Xiao family. The other members of the War King's mansion also seemed somewhat calm. The servants, witnessing the guards' stern demeanor and scornful expressions, were already terrified and unable to hold back their tears. The matriarch of the Xiao family struck her cane heavily on the ground, standing tall with a piercing gaze. Silence. Our Xiao family is made of iron and steel, unyielding even in the face of calamity. How can we weep at mere setbacks? Moreover, old Master Fu has yet to read the imperial decree, so what are you all wailing about? Unexpectedly, the matriarch, despite being over 70, still had a voice like thunder, instantly silencing everyone. Taking advantage of the moment, Su Qingming slipped into the crowd, positioning herself further back. She had no intention of kneeling for that bothersome decree. She would merely pretend to comply behind the cover of the crowd. Old Master Fu, observing the sudden silence among the crowd, felt a flicker of disappointment. If the servants of the War King's mansion continued to cause a ruckus, he could use their noncompliance as an excuse to have the guards suppress them. At that point, if a few prisoners were injured or killed, it would not be his fault. He had not expected this old woman to retain such authority at her age, silencing the crowd with just a few words. Clearing his throat, Old Master Fu produced the imperial decree and began to read. By the heavenly mandate, the emperor decrees, War King Xiao Huaishua, having colluded with foreign foes and betrayed the nation, has been duly verified. Considering the illustrious achievements of the Xiao family, your death sentence is hereby commuted. The entire Xiao family shall be reduced to commoners and sentenced to confiscation and exile to the toxic lands of Lingnan. Thus it is decreed. Chapter 9. What? The War King's mansion is empty. Confiscation and exile. How is that possible? Our Lord has always acted justly. How could he possibly collude with the enemy and betray the nation? The War King's mansion erupted in chaos. Some servants, knowing Xiao Huaishua's character, could not help but defend him. Others, aware that they would soon be sold off, cried inconsolably. Old Master Fu exchanged glances with the commander of the elite guards. Immediately, a squad of guards stepped forward, encircling the hundreds of members of the Xiao family in a corner. The commander himself led a team into the mansion for the confiscation. At this moment, the crown prince arrived, casting a sinister glance over the crowd, his eyes betraying undeniable satisfaction. Xiao Huaishua, excelling in both literature and martial arts, had always overshadowed him. The crown prince, throughout his life, he had long harbored resentment towards Xiao Huaishua. Seeing that his father was finally going to confiscate the War King's mansion, he had rushed over without returning home, eager to witness the downfall of the so-called favored son of heaven. That he also intended to present the confiscated treasures of the War King's mansion to his father, lest the emperor, short on funds, turn his attention toward him. Of course, if he had returned to the East Palace first and discovered that his own estate was also being confiscated, he might not have been smiling at all. Xiao Huaishua's mother, Zhang Qinxue, along with his elder and younger sisters-in-law, had recently received news of their husband's disappearance at the border, and now they suddenly learned that the entire family was to be confiscated and exiled. For a moment, she found it hard to accept, teetering precariously and barely managing to steady herself. With the assistance of a nearby maid, although grandmother Lu Qing possessed a resilient spirit and had witnessed many grand occasions in her youth, the weight of age and frailty bore down upon her. Upon receiving the devastating news, she felt her breath quicken, her chest tighten, as if a colossal stone were pressing upon her heart. Noticing Lu Qing's distress, Su Qingning hurriedly squeezed her way through, using her sleeve as a shield while she placed a pill of reassurance into her mouth. She then offered her a water pouch filled with spring water, signaling her to swallow the medicine with it. Seeing her granddaughter-in-law's clear and resolute gaze, Lu Qing felt a warmth blossom in her heart. Without hesitation, she took several sips from the water pouch. To her astonishment, in but a moment, the heaviness in her heart eased considerably, and her mind felt clearer than before. Even more astonishing was the newfound strength she sensed in her speech and actions, as if she had regained vitality she thought lost. Lu Qing was profoundly shocked. She had not anticipated that the new bride brought into the family by her third grandson possessed such remarkable medical skills, proving more effective than the prescriptions of the imperial physician. Moreover, witnessing Su Qingning maintain her composure in the face of calamity elevated her regard for her granddaughter-in-law even further. With gratitude, Lu Qing squeezed Su Qingning's hand to convey that she was no longer in distress. She spoke gently. "All of you come here. I have something to say." Xiao Huaishua, having seen through the crowd that his grandmother was unwell, felt an acute sense of urgency. From a distance, he noticed that Su Qingning had done something to alleviate his grandmother's condition, her demeanor not only calming but seemingly revitalizing her spirit. He quickly cast a grateful glance at Su Qingning and maneuvered his wheelchair toward them. Lu Qing surveyed her daughter-in-law Zhang Qinxue and her three granddaughters-in-law, tears glistening in her eyes, yet her voice remained resolute and powerful. "Our Xiao family has always been loyal to the nation, never harboring divided hearts. I trust Huaishua. He has always been a man of integrity and would never engage in treasonous acts that would bring disgrace for generations. In the end, it is merely the consequence of the Xiao family's great contributions that has incited the suspicion of those above, leading us to this dire situation. As you all have seen, the Xiao family is about to be exiled in its entirety, and this journey ahead may be fraught with peril. I will write a letter of divorce on behalf of your husbands. You all should depart at once." Eldest sister-in-law Li Xuanyi, raised in the pampered environment of the Yuan Marquis' household, had never endured hardship. Now faced with this calamity, she was already in tears. Yet she grasped Lu Qing's hand firmly and, with unwavering determination, declared, "Grandmother, I will not leave. My mother taught me that one follows their spouse in fortune and in adversity. As husband and wife, we share both blessings and burdens. Now that my brother is at the border, uncertain of his fate, how can I abandon my family in this time of crisis?" Second sister-in-law Zhang Xingyue remained considerably calmer. Having lost her family to a savage beast attack, she had been saved by the second son, Xiao Huai, and they had fallen in love at first sight, pledging their lives to one another. The Battle King's household was not one to concern itself with social standing, and they welcomed Zhang Xingyue into their family with great fanfare. Having endured many hardships in her youth, Zhang Xingyue stood firm and asserted, "Grandmother, I too will not leave. When I married into the family, I vowed to hold your hand and grow old together with the second master. I will wait here for him to return. With that, she turned her intense gaze towards Su Qingning. As for you, third sister-in-law, you originally came to replace Su Qingyin, shielding her from disaster. If the court pursues the matter, they can only hold Su Qingyin, who is engaged to third brother, accountable. It would be wise for you to find an opportunity to depart. Xiao Huaishuo regarded Su Qingning earnestly and whispered, I still have some influence remaining in the capital. If you wish to leave, I can arrange for assistance. The old emperor seeks my life. Escaping should not prove difficult for you. Observing the Xiao family, who were so openly supportive and caring for one another, Su Qingning felt an overwhelming softness in her heart, beginning to genuinely like this family. Though she had lived 2 lives, both marked by cold and unwelcoming families, this was the first time she encountered such unity and affection. With conviction, she stated, I will not leave. Having pledged myself in marriage, I am now a member of the Xiao family. How could I abandon them in their time of need? Moreover, as the saying goes, a blessing in disguise. Who knows what fortune may arise from this? As long as we stand together, looking after one another, there is no obstacle we cannot overcome. In truth, Su Qingming thought, her husband possessed both charm and intelligence. Holding the potential to lead this family toward prosperity was far more appealing than embarking on a solitary venture. To her surprise, her words, imbued with strength and confidence, uplifted the Xiao family, igniting a flicker of hope for the road ahead. Grandmother Lu Qing, moved, patted her hand and praised, excellent. This is the spirit that a member of the Xiao family should possess. I acknowledge you as my granddaughter-in-law. Witnessing Su Qingming's self-assured and unwavering demeanor, Xiao Huaishuo felt his heart, once encased in ice, beginning to thaw, filled with indescribable warmth. He grasped Su Qingming's hand tightly and gently declared, very well, we shall face this together. While they engaged in hushed discussions, the commander of the Imperial Guards had completed a thorough search of the Battle King's residence. Aside from a collection of worthless scrap metal, they found nothing of significance. The Crown Prince, who had been so pleased just moments before, now wore a stunned expression, his voice rising an octave in disbelief. What? Are you saying the Battle King's residence is completely empty? Chapter 10. The Thief Went East. At this moment, the Imperial Guards had just completed their search of the Wangfu, leaving all the doors wide open. The onlookers were rendered nearly breathless by the scene within the chambers. They had only just been awakened from their slumber, and in the brief span of mere moments. How could everything have vanished? Even more bizarre was the fact that not only were the valuable furnishings gone, but also the gilded ridge beasts on the eaves. The copper rings on the main door and the decorations on the beams. Everything had inexplicably disappeared, despite having witnessed the entire yishiding being emptied out earlier. Xiao Huaishuo was still profoundly shocked to see the Wangfu cleared in less than a quarter of an hour. Turning to Su Qingning, who appeared remarkably composed, he inquired in a tone only they could hear, was it you? Indeed, I have plundered your home. Do you have any objections? Su Qingning feigned a carefree demeanor, yet felt a twinge of anxiety as she awaited Xiao Huaishuo's reaction. The allure of a handsome man was undeniable, yet a disobedient one might flee at any moment. Regardless, she held the power of space in her hands and felt no worries. Her lingering presence stemmed from the comfort she found in their interactions. If Xiao Huaishuo could not accept her peculiarities or harbored any inappropriate thoughts, she could easily take her leave. Xiao Huaishuo, however, maintained an expression of calm, asking in a measured tone, did you also commit the theft at the palace? At this moment, Su Qingning found herself somewhat admiring her seemingly unassuming husband's mental fortitude. After all, her skills were remarkably extraordinary in this realm, and any ordinary person would be utterly astounded. Yet, Xiao Huaishuo remained unfazed, amused by the prospect of teasing him. Su Qingning smiled and said, yes, not only did I empty the palace, but I also cleared out the East Palace, the Prime Minister's residence, and numerous corrupt officials' abodes. Would you like to report me now? Her audacious demeanor struck Xiao Huaishuo as unexpectedly charming, causing the corners of his lips to subtly rise as he replied, well done. Su Qingning could not help but smile in return, feeling assured that she had chosen well in this husband. Meanwhile, the Crown Prince was unconvinced by this turn of events. He personally led a squad of guards to scour every corner of the Wangfu, yet could not uncover even a single needle. His body trembled with fury as he glared at Xiao Huaishuo, filled with threatening intent. Xiao Huaishuo, you possess great audacity. How dare you empty the residence of the War King before the imperial decree to seize it was issued? Speak. Where have you hidden the valuables? Confess, and I might spare your life. Xiao Huaishuo remained composed, as if he were the judge and the Crown Prince stood before him as the desperate criminal. Your Highness, what are you saying? I only learned tonight that the residence of the War King was condemned and seized after the imperial decree was issued. I was escorted back to the Wangfu by the Imperial Guards. How could I possibly have emptied it right under everyone's noses? With your Highness overseeing the military, how could anyone dare to clear the War King's residence in your sight? It seems to me that some individuals are attempting to usurp the vast fortunes of the War King's estate, playing a game of self-theft. standing beside him. Su Qingming feigned a distressed expression, gasping, "Oh my! My 18 dowries have vanished in the blink of an eye. Woe is me! Who could these audacious thieves be, possessing such extraordinary skills?" Inside, she was eager to give Xiao Huaishua a silent thumbs up, admiring his swift wit. Previously, he had sowed discord between the ruler and the subjects. And now he insinuated that the crown prince was complicit in the theft of the war king's wealth. His logic was so intricate it was difficult to refute. The Xiao family, though bewildered, stood by in support. Grandmother Lu Qing struck her cane down heavily, her eyes gleaming with intensity. "Your Highness, even in punishment, one must adhere to reason. The entire city is under martial law. How could my grandson have emptied the war king's residence within just a few hours? If word of this got out, the world would surely mock us." The crown prince sensed that the war king's family was up to something but had no evidence. Feeling as though he had struck a solid wall of resistance, nearly grinding his teeth in frustration, he had come here with the intention of seizing the war king's vast wealth, which rivaled that of the East Palace. Intending to present the confiscated items to his father to avoid being asked for funds. Now, he had failed to seize anything and had been left speechless by Xiao Huaishua. Suffering a significant loss of face, the crown prince cast a fierce glare around the war king's household, determined to regain his dignity. It was then that he spotted Su Qingming, who was engrossed in her performance, and his eyes lit up. This young lady was indeed striking. If he could not deal with Xiao Huaishua, could he not handle a mere woman? Surely, Xiao Huaishua was behind this. "Guards, bring Su Qingming to me. The evidence must lie with her." In an instant, Xiao Huaishua's eyes flared with menace as he maneuvered his wheelchair to shield Su Qingming. Grandmother Lu Qing and Mother Zhang Qinxue, along with several members of the Xiao family, stood protectively before her. "A gentleman can be killed but not humiliated. Though the emperor has reduced my Xiao family to commoners, he has not decreed that we can be bullied at will. If your highness doubts the honor of my Xiao family women, you shall have to step over my dead body." Elder sister-in-law Li Xuani also expressed her indignation, stepping in front of Su Qingming and vehemently protesting, "Your highness, accusations require evidence. Do you not fear the laughter of the world for bullying a defenseless woman in public?" The crown prince bore an expression of triumph, relishing the rising agitation among the Xiao family, his previous frustrations dissipating. "Seize these obstructive individuals. Their protection of that woman indicates that she must be hiding some unspeakable secret. Drag her before me and strip her bare in front of everyone." Several imperial guards stepped forward to comply. Xiao Huaishua's eyes flashed with resolve as he prepared to summon the remaining forces hidden outside, ready to engage in a battle to the bitter end with this arrogant crown prince. Suddenly, a violent gust of wind swept through the doorway. A heavy door, weighing over 100 pounds, flew in and slammed into the crown prince, sending him sprawling to the ground. The deafening crash echoed through the hall, kicking up a cloud of dust. The crown prince resembled a deflated pufferfish, rolling his eyes before spitting out a mouthful of blood and losing consciousness. Your highness, guards, go apprehend the assassin. First, remove his highness from the premises. Summon the physician. Quick, summon the physician. Your highness, wake up." The hall descended into chaos as 3 soldiers struggled mightily to lift the door and retrieve the crown prince. For the moment, no one paid attention to stripping Su Qingming of her garments. The members of the Xiao family gazed at the bizarre scene unfolding before them, their expressions filled with shock. Instinctively shielding their relatives behind them, Su Qingming mimicked the frightened demeanor of the surrounding maids, exclaiming, "Oh dear, what a fright. Oh no, I saw a shadow darting towards the east. Guards, hurry and pursue. We must not let those treacherous thieves who plot against the crown prince escape." Chapter 11. The enraged dog Emperor Xiao Huaishua had just seen Su Qingming's finger twitch, followed by the sudden gust of wind at the entrance. Even after being astonished by her numerous feats throughout the day, he still felt a shiver run down his spine. Had he not discreetly pinched himself earlier, he might have thought he was dreaming. However, known for his strong mental fortitude, he quickly concealed his astonishment. Adopting a facade of concern for his wife, he gently patted Su Qingming's back with a look of compassion. "Do not fear, it is all over now. The assassin has fled." The imperial guards were skeptical of any supernatural winds. However, despite their efforts, they could not find any trace of the assassin. Upon hearing someone in the crowd mention a shadow spotted to the east, they promptly dispatched a group to pursue it. Once the rest of the party had settled the still unconscious Taizi, the task was taken over by the commander of the Imperial Guard, Li Guangli. Li Guangli shared a close friendship with Xiao Huaishua's father, and his gaze towards the Xiao family was rather complicated. He refrained from deliberately making things difficult for them, simply following protocol to have everyone searched and provided with prison garb. Some concealed banknotes and jewelry were overlooked, turning a blind eye. Despite their mental preparations, the moment the heavy, cold shackles were placed upon them, the group truly realized the arduous journey that lay ahead. The elder sister, Li Xianyi, and younger sister, Xiao Qingya, who had never faced hardship, could not help but softly weep. Lu Qing, noticing the somber mood, struck his cane forcefully and exclaimed, "Everyone, pull yourselves together. With such cowardice, how will you endure the long road ahead?" Your grandfather once led your father in battle against the Shirong, donning heavy armor and traversing thousands of miles. Now, with this minor burden, you cannot bear it? The old princess's steadfast gaze and words carried an unwavering strength, uplifting the spirits of those around her. Li Xianyi quickly wiped her tears, declaring, "Grandmother is right. There is not a single coward in our war prince's household." Fourth brother, Xiao Huijin, stood tall, supporting Xiao Huishua's wheelchair with determination. "Grandmother is right. Our ancestors followed Emperor Gaozu in rebellion, completing the arduous long march in straw sandals. What is this mere 3,000 miles of exile compared to that?" The youthful voice resonated with clarity and vigor, inspiring those nearby. They straightened their backs and strode forth with newfound confidence. Watching the united Xiao family, Su Qingming felt an involuntary surge of emotion. The prospect of journeying alongside them filled her with anticipation and gratitude. After all, with the space in hand, she could navigate through life with ease. The current hardships were merely temporary. Once they left the bustling capital, she would be the one to dictate the narrative. According to the original storyline, the Taizi had intended to make things difficult for Xiao Huishua, even confiscating his wheelchair. The journey of exile was to be completed with Xiao Huijin carrying him. However, Li Guangli chose to show leniency, not only allowing Xiao Huishua to keep his wheelchair, but also leaving many of his personal belongings untouched, sparing the Xiao family considerable trouble. Su Qingming cast a final glance at the imposing palace, silently vowing to return. She turned to find Xiao Huishua, much like herself, quietly observing the palace. "What are you contemplating?" Su Qingming inquired, sincerity glimmering in her eyes. "We must depart soon. Before we leave, I wish to extend my most heartfelt blessings to His Majesty." Xiao Huishua's lips curled into a faint smile. "As a husband, I share the same sentiment. If blessings are to be offered, let us wish for his swift ascent to bliss. In his next life, may he be reborn into a creature with more understanding than now." In the East Palace, shortly after the Taizi was carried back, he regained consciousness. Upon opening his eyes, he was confronted with a structure more dilapidated than a slum, leaving him momentarily stunned before erupting in fury. "Scoundrels! A pack of fools! Where have they cast me aside? Do they truly believe I am so easily bullied? Do they think they can toy with me at will?" His personal attendant hurriedly approached, trembling as he responded, "Your Highness, this is your East Palace courtyard." The East Palace, like the Imperial Palace, had been thoroughly looted the previous day. The Taizi was struck by disbelief, exclaiming, "Impossible. How could anyone have emptied both the Imperial Palace and the East Palace overnight?" He sprang from the stretcher, disregarding his appearance, hair disheveled, and began to frantically search the East Palace. The antiques and rare artworks from his study were gone. The garden was riddled with holes. The precious potted plants he had sought for so long, including a massive ancient tree, had vanished. The secret chamber, once stacked with gold bricks, weapons crafted in secrecy, and cherished spring paintings, now utterly empty. The more he searched, the angrier he became, his heart sinking further. This was the accumulation of his life's savings. How could it simply be gone? To add insult to injury, those despicable thieves had scattered his undergarments about, transforming the courtyard into a spectacle for the local populace. I am infuriated. Issue a citywide order to apprehend the culprits. If you cannot capture them, then do not expect to live." Meanwhile, chaos reigned in the Imperial Palace. Upon awakening, the old emperor found himself on the cold floor, initially believing he was under some curse. He quickly sat up, only to feel the pain from his numerous injuries, recalling the events of the previous day. It was utterly disgraceful. As a sovereign ruler, he had been publicly robbed of the council hall, even trampled in the chaos. His blood pressure soared in anger, and upon seeing the bare sleeping quarters, he was driven to madness. "Xiao Fuji, hurry and assist me in changing. Where is my breakfast? The royal wardrobe and kitchen have been looted. Scoundrels! What are the Yulin guards doing? Why have they not apprehended the thieves yet?" The emperor instinctively reached for something to hurl at the kneeling Xiao Fuji, only to realize he had nothing left. "Your Majesty, Master Zhang is tirelessly pursuing the thieves. The ladies' chambers have also been emptied. They are outside imploring you for justice." The old emperor, in a state of disarray, paced the grand hall, his hair disheveled. "Justice? I myself have no recourse. Where is the time to provide justice for them?" Fortunately, today they had raided the Prime Minister's residence and the War Prince's manor. Surely that would alleviate the financial crisis. However, it was not long before news arrived. "Your Majesty, the War Prince's residence was also ravaged yesterday. It stands empty. The Imperial Guard found nothing." "Your Majesty, the East Palace has been looted as well. The Taizi has been driven to madness." "Your Majesty, the northern provinces have suffered prolonged drought. There are now over 100,000 destitute citizens in dire need of relief." "Your Majesty, 10 days ago, the Kingdom of Bei Li launched a surprise attack on our borders, capturing 3 cities. We urgently require troops for rescue." Chapter 12. When enemies meet. The tension is palpable, Your Majesty. "Your Majesty, what has happened? Wake up." Xiao Shun quickly summoned the imperial physician. A barrage of grim news struck the old emperor like cannon fire. Unable to bear the weight of the blows, he spat blood and collapsed once more to the ground. Meanwhile, chaos reigned in the Prime Minister's residence, leaving everyone in disarray. Upon awakening that morning, the master and servants of the residence were left speechless at the sight of their home resembling a ruin. They had seen thieves before, but never such merciless ones. Not only had they made off with the large furnishings from hundreds of rooms, but they had also pried away roof tiles, floor tiles, and the gems embedded in the screens. The entire residence was devoid of any valuable items. This morning, a servant heading to Su Qingning's courtyard for a shift entered to find a naked figure hanging from the courtyard wall. Hastily, he called a few guards to help bring the person down. Though the woman had an appealing physique, her face was covered in sores, presenting a ghastly sight. The guards initially suspected her to be an indiscreet woman who had mistakenly wandered into the Prime Minister's residence and deliberated on throwing her out. At this moment, Su Qingning opened her eyes wide and suddenly sprang up from the ground. Realizing she was entirely exposed and being stared at by the young servants, her mind went blank, and she let out a piercing scream. Upon hearing this familiar voice, several servants recognized it was the second miss and promptly averted their gazes in embarrassment. Su Qingning's reputation was utterly shattered. The entire household could not find a single garment for her to wear, and they had no choice but to have Chao remove her clothes to lend them to her. Su Qingning stared in disbelief at her once splendid courtyard, which had transformed into ruins overnight, struggling to catch her breath. As she touched her face, she felt the roughness and bumps, and in a surge of anger, she spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. In King Finjuan, Su Qingji awoke, blinking his sleepy eyes. Upon recognizing his surroundings, he was instantly filled with exuberance. Oh, these little sprites really know how to have fun. He transformed the scene into a slum? How exhilarating. I adore it. After saying this, he grabbed a similarly unclothed young servant beside him and took a few hearty bites. Just as he was preparing to engage in another round of playful antics with his companions, a little maid rushed in, breathlessly reporting, "Young master, something terrible has happened. The Lord has not returned all night, and the Prime Minister's residence has been completely ransacked." Su Qingji felt as though he had been struck by lightning, rendered speechless. "What did you say? This is the Prime Minister's residence? This is my King Finjuan." Shaking his head, which felt as if it were made of tofu, he finally recalled the events of the previous night. He leapt from his bed and bellowed, "What are you all doing standing around? Hurry and let my father report to the authorities. Who were the guards last night? A bunch of useless fools. How could hundreds of them fail to protect a single courtyard? Get out and receive 50 lashes." Not yet satisfied, he kicked the maid, Chuier, to the ground. "Hurry and fetch me water to wash up. Where's my breakfast? Who had the audacity to let me go hungry? You wretched thing. If you continue to be so daft, I shall sell you off." Chuier, clutching her chest in pain, could only endure and crawl away. She searched throughout King Finjuan, but found not a single scrap of food. Fortunately, the tiger whip stew prepared last night for the Lord was still untouched. Without further thought, she hurriedly brought it to Su Qingji. Su Qingji did not take the robbery of the Prime Minister's residence too seriously, as he knew his father would handle it. At that moment, he leaned against the wall, being pampered by several young servants who were massaging his shoulders. When Chuier entered, he snorted disdainfully and drank the entire pot of tiger whip soup in a few gulps. However, feeling still unsatisfied, he viciously kicked Chuier down again. "Hurry and find something else to eat. Do you want to starve me with just this?" In the next instant, Su Qingji felt a searing pain in his lower abdomen. A scream, akin to that of a slaughtered pig, pierced the air, and he rolled his eyes before fainting. Soon, the courtyards of the various masters and the Prime Minister's residence echoed with cries, and the servants were in a frenzy. Fortunately, it was not long before news arrived that the Lord had returned. The crowd suddenly felt as if they had found a savior and rushed to the front hall, hoping that Prime Minister Su could deliver justice. However, upon reaching the front hall, they witnessed Su Bingxing being escorted back by hundreds of imperial guards. Looking as wilted as a frostbitten eggplant, the old emperor, having emptied the palace and treasury, was troubled by a lack of funds. Last night, he had seen the evidence scattered in the council hall and the enormous sums documented, his eyes gleaming with greed. Without verifying the facts, he had sentenced Prime Minister Su and several relevant officials to confiscation and exile. The deputy commander of the Imperial Guards had initially thought this confiscation would be a lucrative opportunity, allowing him to reap rewards and present treasures to the old emperor. However, upon entering, he found the Prime Minister's residence was cleaner than the current palace. After thoroughly searching the estate, the only valuable item they found was the copper pot that had been used to prepare the tiger whip stew for Prime Minister Su. Furious, the deputy commander ordered Su Bingxing to be dragged away and given 50 lashes. Seeing Shen Shi, Su Qingyin, and Su Qingji still unconscious, he showed no mercy and doused them with a bucket of cold water, quickly changing their clothes and hastily escorting them outside the city. Thus, after being escorted outside the city, Su Qingning and her companions encountered the Su family, who appeared utterly bedraggled and in disarray. Su Bingxing and his son were pallid, moving with an odd gait, expending all their strength to walk, yet still slower than normal, occasionally receiving a lash. The Xiao family members, upon seeing the Su family, were taken aback. Initially, they had thought to empathize with them, but upon witnessing the Su family's woeful state, they were filled with disdain as they recognized the venomous glances directed at Su Qingning, akin to those one would reserve for a sworn enemy. The Xiao family. Recalling the rumors of Prime Minister Su's favoritism towards concubines at the expense of his wife and the mistreatment of his legitimate daughter, immediately moved to shield Su Qingning. Glaring fiercely at the Su family, Xiao Huaishua, sensing the predatory gazes from the Su family, felt a chill run down his spine, as he could only imagine the wretched existence Su Qingning had endured previously. Taking her hand, he comfortingly squeezed it, positioning her protectively behind him. Their eyes met, and an unspoken understanding passed between them. Su Qingning, feeling the warmth of the Xiao family's support, was reassured that her decision to remain was indeed the right one. The emperor, it seemed, had lost his senses, as he had hastily condemned more than a dozen families to confiscation and exile. Hundreds of people gathered outside the city gate to bid farewell to their relatives and friends. The path of exile was notoriously treacherous, and many felt desolate, unable to suppress their tears as they embraced their families, resulting in a cacophony of sobs echoing through the desolate landscape. Xiao Huaishua keenly observed the malevolence in the gazes of many among the crowd directed at them, understanding that this journey of exile would undoubtedly be fraught with perilous schemes. He exchanged a knowing glance with his fourth brother, Xiao Huaijin, and they subtly shifted to protect the womenfolk behind them. Their mother, Zhang Qinxue, and elder sister-in-law, Li Xuanyi, although hailing from prominent families, were both from the south, and second sister-in-law, Jiang Xinyue, was an orphan. The distant relatives in the capital, upon learning of the Xiao family's downfall, avoided them as if they were a plague. Thus, this side appeared significantly quieter compared to the bustling crowd. The Xiao family members remained observant and silent, patiently waiting for the official's command to depart. At that moment, an excited voice called from behind, "Ningning. Oh my dear Ningning. Your grandmother has finally seen you. Oh dear, how thin you have become. Come here, and let your grandmother take a good look at you." Chapter 13. Su Qingning becomes consumed by jealousy upon hearing this familiar voice. Su Qingning turned to see a pair of elderly figures clad in resplendent attire, accompanied by several young men and women hurriedly approaching her. The expressions on their faces were filled with compassion and concern. It was then that she recalled that the original owner had a maternal family that was immensely wealthy. Unfortunately, in the kingdom of Deqian, merchants held a lowly status. After Su Bingsheng, that scoundrel of a father, utilized his father-in-law's wealth to gain an education and attain official rank, he turned his back on them, consistently suppressing his in-laws. After the Gu family departed, not only did he prevent them from seeing the original owner, but he also frequently exploited the original owner's name to extort money from the Gu family, who believed that by providing financial support, Prime Minister Su would treat the original owner more favorably. Regrettably, all the money has found its way into the pocket of Shen Yang, while the original owner remains locked in the back courtyard, still consuming the leftovers of others, perhaps influenced by the lingering emotions of the original owner within her body. Su Qingning could not help but feel her eyes brim with tears as she gazed upon her genuinely caring maternal family. Maternal grandfather, maternal grandmother, elder cousin sister. As maternal grandmother Lin approached, she enveloped Su Qingning in a tight embrace, only to discover that the girl was painfully thin, her body little more than bones. Tears streamed uncontrollably from her eyes. "Oh my dear Ningning, it is the fault of your maternal grandparents for being powerless, causing you to suffer such indignities. Your grandmother has dreamed of meeting you for years. Who would have thought that after such a long wait, you would face exile?" Nonetheless, Lin, as the matriarch of a prominent family, quickly composed herself after shedding a few tears. She then handed a small bundle to grandmother Lu Qing. "Dear-in-law, this is but a token of our affection. We hope you take care of yourselves on your journey and look after our Ningning." Lu Qing's expression softened, and she did not accept the package. "Since it is a gift from my in-laws, let us entrust it to Ningning for safekeeping. Rest assured, Ningning is now a part of the Xiao family, and we shall not treat her poorly." Seeing the Xiao family members display such forthrightness, which indeed aligned with the reputed integrity of their clan, Lin felt a sense of reassurance. She pulled Su Qingning aside and secretly slipped a larger bundle into her hands. The clothing of an exile was thin and offered little concealment, so she had also sewn a close-fitting pouch, discreetly tying it around her waist. The pouch appeared bulging, clearly stuffed with silver notes. "Child, this is the travel money prepared by your grandmother. The Xiao family consists of kind-hearted individuals, and your grandmother need not worry on this journey. However, one must always maintain a sense of vigilance. Even the seemingly benevolent can harbor ill intentions, so be cautious to avoid falling victim to deceit." "Yes, I understand. Please do not worry, grandmother." Although she was now indeed the wealthiest individual in Deqian, these silver notes were of little consequence to her. Yet, the sincere affection from her elders was invaluable, and she felt deeply moved. Hence, she earnestly advised, "Grandmother, you should head south soon. The capital has experienced 3 consecutive months of drought, and several provinces to the north are suffering from both drought and locust plagues. These years seem to be unfavorable. It would be wise for you to seek refuge in the south." Upon hearing Su Qingning's words, Lin furrowed her brow. recalling recent news from the Northern Territories, and recognized the wisdom in her counsel. Very well, I shall discuss this matter with your grandfather upon my return. There are rumors that the Lingnan region contains jade mines, and many have believed these tales and ventured there to mine. The influx of people has indeed spurred the local economy. Lingnan is not as desolate as the rumors suggest. We shall establish ourselves there, and you will have support upon your arrival. Su Qingning's eyes brightened at these words. Realizing she had been preoccupied with various dangers since her arrival and had almost forgotten this matter, she recalled a mention towards the conclusion of the original story that a jade mine spanning several mountains had been discovered in the Lingnan region. The mine belonged to Yanqing, and upon learning of the discovery, the city lord promptly sealed off the resources and began recruiting troops, soon declaring himself king. Although some had unearthed jade stones there, they had been searching in the wrong direction. It was not until 3 years later that the true jade mine, stretching for hundreds of feet, was discovered several dozen miles from the current development zone. At this moment, Su Qingning felt as if the mountains filled with gems were already labeled with her name. Meanwhile, the people around her wore expressions of sorrow, deeply affected. Though she maintained a calm exterior, her heart raced with excitement. Wishing she could instantly teleport to that remote Lingnan land to claim the entire jade mine for herself. Unfortunately, her spatial abilities could not transport her such a distance. And considering the crowded environment of the capital, she could only follow the exile convoy for a while longer. Lin observed that Su Qingning had matured considerably since her childhood, which eased her worries. Nevertheless, she was reluctant to part ways, holding her hand and offering numerous last-minute pieces of advice. Xiao Huaishua, noticing this, maneuvered his wheelchair closer and gently reassured, "Grandmother, rest assured, we will take good care of Ningning." This was the first time he referred to another young lady by her given name, and he stumbled over his words slightly when mentioning Ningning. A faint blush coloring his face. That is good, Huaishua, you are a good child." Lin's eyes shimmered with tears as she gently patted Xiao Huaishua. It was at this moment that she noticed her newly appointed grandson-in-law. The young man stood tall like a green pine, with a face as handsome as jade and rugged features, truly a remarkable sight. Alas, at such a young age, he was confined to a wheelchair. The more Lin looked at her grandson-in-law, the more satisfied she became, further solidifying her desire to settle in Lingnan and find a renowned physician to treat Xiao Huaishua's ailment. With that, she slowly departed with her husband and grandchildren. Meanwhile, at the Su family residence, the news of their impending exile had only just reached them that morning, leaving everyone in a state of despondency, as if they had yet to fully comprehend the gravity of the situation. Although Shen's family had previously benefited from Su Bingxing's connections, they now feared being implicated by the Su family and sent a maid to drop off a small bundle before hastily departing. However, the Su household had already been thoroughly plundered by Su Qingning and was now destitute. The Su family members were left impoverished and struggling. Shen Yang, relying on the small bundle bestowed by her family, felt somewhat more affluent than the others, allowing her to speak with newfound assertiveness. Su Qingyin, overwhelmed by a series of devastating blows that morning, felt utterly defeated and lost focus. She had initially thought Su Qingning would not fare much better than herself. However, she then witnessed the immensely wealthy Gu family presenting Su Qingning with a substantial bundle, followed by the sight of Su Qingning being adored like a little princess by the Xiao family. Finally, she observed Xiao Huaishua remaining steadfastly by Su Qingning's side, engaging in numerous conversations with her maternal grandmother, something he had always been reticent about. The last remnants of her rationality crumbled, and she found herself suffocated by an overwhelming wave of jealousy, feeling as if she were being buried under it. The position beside Xiao Huaishua rightfully belonged to her. Why were they not resentful of the substituted Su Qingning, but instead treated her with such kindness? A glimmer of vicious calculation flickered in Su Qingyin's eyes as she feigned a hurt expression and approached Su Qingning. "Sister, how could you treat me this way? The engagement with the Xiao family was clearly mine. You actually knocked me unconscious and took my place in the wedding carriage. Oh sister, you truly possess a heart as cold as ice." Chapter 14. How foolish to come and harm others. Su Qingyin deliberately raised her voice, her tone dripping with feigned grievance. Her intent was to publicly accuse Su Qingning of being unrestrained and stealing her sister's fiancé, thereby tarnishing her reputation and inciting the disdain of the Xiao family, ensuring that her journey into exile would be fraught with difficulties. To Su Qingning, her exaggerated antics resembled that of a clown, and she could hardly be bothered to engage with her further. However, the Xiao family could not remain indifferent, their expressions turning to fury directed at Su Qingyin. Grandmother Lu Qing immediately leaned on her cane and spat on the ground. "Bah, my Huaishua has long been devoted to Ning girl. He was always meant to marry Ning girl. What were you raised on? Such audacity, coming here in front of everyone to slander our Ning girl." Elder sister Li Xuani also felt her anger rise, positioning herself protectively in front of Su Qingning and retorting loudly, "Indeed, Huaishua was always meant to marry Ningning. You, of such lowly character, are not even fit to compare with a single toe of hers, yet you dare to claim that she has stolen your marriage?" Sister-in-law Jiang Xinhua joined in, exclaiming, "Oh dear, The Su family truly is a den of malice. They attempt to snatch away our Ningning's marriage and then turn the tables on us. This second Miss Su is utterly shameless. On the very day of the wedding, she cleanly stole Ningning's dowry. Su Qingyin was left flabbergasted by the barrage of accusations. Feeling both enraged and humiliated, she shouted, "I did not steal her dowry. You are slandering me." Jiang Xinyue was equally unyielding, insisting, "I witnessed it with my own eyes. You cannot feign ignorance." What a farce. How could she possibly covet Su Qingning's dowry? Su Qingyin felt an overwhelming surge of fury, her words spilling out unchecked. "You speak nonsense. All 18 crates of her dowry are filled with worthless scrap. Why would I steal such rubbish?" As soon as these words left her lips, she sensed the peculiar gazes of those around her. It dawned on her that she had fallen into a trap set by Jiang Xinyue. Indeed, she soon heard Jiang's mocking voice. "You just claimed that our Ningning knocked you out and carried you to the bridal sedan. Now you say the Su family prepared her dowry. Your statements contradict each other, yet you still wish to malign others. Perhaps you should practice your lines more before attempting to harm others." Sister-in-law Jiang Xinyue, born into poverty, was spirited and sharp-witted. In mere moments, she ensnared Su Qingyin, leaving her speechless. Little sister Xiao Qingya, infuriated, trembled with rage and made a face at Su Qingyin. "We originally wanted Ning's sister-in-law. Without a mirror. Do you not see what you look like? Who would desire such an eyesore?" Their mother, Zhang Qinxue, hurriedly intervened, sternly warning her. "How many times have I told you not to use such vulgar language? How can you speak to others like this?" Xiao Qingya, with innocent eyes, glanced at Su Qingyin and replied earnestly, "Mother, I was not speaking to anyone." "Well, all right then." Zhang Qinxue then looked at Su Qingyin's freckled, rash-covered, wrinkled face, contorted like a demon, and admonished again, "Even when speaking to a ghost, one should refrain from using such filthy language." The onlookers began to comprehend the unfolding situation, murmuring among themselves, "Is the young mistress of the Xiao family the eldest daughter of the Su family? She appears even shorter than the second miss. The Su family members are all well-groomed, yet this eldest daughter looks emaciated. It seems she has been bullied in the past." They observed that Su Qingyin's words were contradictory, yet she dared to emerge and slander others. Is she not a fool? Many felt a wave of discomfort upon seeing Su Qingyin's glistening, pus-dripping face, stifling a gag. "If I were from the Xiao family, I would also choose the eldest daughter. Who would forsake a beauty for that ugly creature? Truly, beauty comes from the heart, and the ugly often act strangely." The crowd's sentiment swiftly shifted, beginning to cast blame upon Su Qingyin. She was so furious she nearly spat blood, but could not find words to refute the Xiao family. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at Xiao Huaishua. "Brother Xiao, it was I who was betrothed to you. The eldest sister has been incompetent since childhood, crude and ignorant. How can she be worthy of you? Brother Xiao, do you not remember me?" The last phrase was delivered with exaggerated inflection, utterly nauseating. Su Qingyin had yet to adapt to her current hideous appearance and habitually cast a flirtatious glance at Xiao Huaishua. However, her face, swollen and red, resembled a pig's head, and her once pleasant eyes were now squished into narrow slits. To Xiao Huaishua, it appeared as though a pig with a twitching eye was lewdly posing before him, nearly causing him to regurgitate his last meal. He hastily averted his gaze, retreating his wheelchair. "I have only one sister. Please, Miss Su, conduct yourself with dignity and refrain from making unfounded claims." He then issued a cold warning. "Considering this as your first offense, I shall not hold it against you. Should you dare to slander my wife again, do not expect my courtesy." "What did you say?" Su Qingyin could hardly believe Xiao Huaishua's coldness, her face a mask of disbelief. Since their brief encounter in youth, she had been unable to forget him, constantly fantasizing about a beautiful future with the god of war of Deqian. Yet, at this moment, Su Qingyin felt as though her youthful dreams had been shattered by a single blow, leaving her breathless and frozen in place. Xiao Qingya thought she had not heard correctly and stepped forward, hands on her hips, shouting, "My brother said he has only me as a sister. Get as far away as possible." The little girl's voice rang clear, causing Su Qingyin's last emotional bastion to crumble. Rage surged within her as she lunged at Xiao Qingya, ready to strike. "You insolent little wretch. How dare you speak to me like that?" Several female relatives of the Xiao family rushed to rescue Xiao Qingya, but someone was quicker than them. A sudden gust of wind swept through the trees behind them, and a stone flew from the crowd, striking Su Qingyin's forehead with a resounding thud. Before Su Qingyin could even touch Xiao Qingya, she felt an excruciating pain in her forehead. Tears streamed down her face as she covered her mouth and began to curse. Who hit me?" Su Qingyin scanned the crowd, her eyes filled with hatred as she zeroed in on Su Qingning. "Su Qingning, was it you who threw that stone at me?" Su Qingning feigned innocence. "Sister, one must speak with evidence. I did not move just now." Beside her, Xiao Huaishua could not help but smirk slightly. He had seen Su Qingning move her hand, after which a gust of wind had arisen. The technique employed by his wife did not resemble traditional martial arts, but rather seemed akin to legendary abilities. Quite remarkable. Yet, Su Qingyin could not heed Su Qingning's words, seeing the animosity in the gazes of those surrounding her. Her singular thought was that she could not allow Su Qingning to have an easy time. With fury in her eyes, she charged at Su Qingning. You little wretch. It must have been you. Today, I shall make you pay. Chapter 15. Su Qingning will not frolic for long. Seeing Su Qingyin's relentless pursuit, Xiao Huaishua grew angry as well. He maneuvered his wheelchair to shield Su Qingning, his eyes flashing with determination, ready to teach her a lesson. He had never struck a woman before, but was willing to break that principle for Su Qingyin. However, at that moment, a group of guards escorting exiles approached. Stop. Su Heir, what are you doing? Have you not even departed before causing a scene? Do you think the whip in my hand is merely for show? The leading officer, Li Yang, immediately spotted Su Qingyin ferociously charging at Su Qingning and swiftly lashed out with his whip. Li Yang's men were merciless. The whip struck Su Qingyin's ribs with force. The barbs on the whip tore through her skin, causing blood to spurt forth, and the pain caused Su Qingyin to convulse. Having been pampered since childhood, she had never endured such suffering, and she defiantly glared at Li Yang. You dare to defy me? How could you strike me? Li Yang scoffed derisively, snapping his whip again against Su Qingyin. You are the one who has defied reason. Do you think you're still a young lady of the residence? With each crack of the whip, Su Qingyin cried out in agony, her swollen, pus-filled cheeks trembling. Officer, young lady is young and ignorant. She accidentally offended you. Please, show mercy and spare her. Madame Shun rushed over, shielding Su Qingyin beneath her, taking a few lashes in her stead. Enduring the intense pain, she pressed a silver coin into Li Yang's hand. Li Yang weighed the silver in his hand and let out a cold snort. This shall not happen again. Keep a close watch on this fool. If there is a next time, do not blame me for being merciless. Yes, thank you, official. Su Qingyin looked at Shun Shi with disbelief and reproached. Aunt, what are you doing? They are clearly bullying me. Shun Shi hurriedly covered Su Qingyin's mouth and dragged her away. After walking quite a distance, she whispered comfortingly, Iner, I have told you before. Times have changed. Our family has been demoted to commoners, and we cannot afford to offend these officials. Hearing this made Su Qingyin even angrier, and she slapped Shun Shi across the face. It is all your fault. It is all your and father's incompetence that has led our family to be exiled. Now, not only can a mere minor official bully me, but I also have to watch that wretched Su Qingning take away Brother Xiao. Shun Shi felt a sharp sting on her face, several blisters bursting and oozing yellow-red liquid. Yet, she held back her pain and tenderly wiped Su Qingyin's tears. Yes. It is all our fault, my dear. Do not be upset. I will find a way to compensate you in the future. As for that little wretch, Su Qingning, she seems a bit different now. Do not provoke her for the time being. I have my own methods to deal with her. Rest assured, Iner. She won't be bouncing around for much longer. Upon hearing Shun Shi's assurances, Su Qingyin finally quieted down and ceased her ruckus. Su Qingning quietly observed Shun Shi and Su Qingyin from a distance, easily deducing that they were scheming something significant. She even felt a flicker of anticipation for them to hasten their plans, hoping to stretch her limbs. However, she also noticed that there were several pairs of watchful eyes lurking in the shadows, monitoring the Xiao family. These individuals were all highly skilled in martial arts and were likely sent by the royal family to deal with Xiao Huaishua. They would not be as easy to handle as Shun Shi and her daughter. Seeing Su Qingning appear somewhat lost in thought, the Xiao family members assumed she was upset by the Su mother-daughter duo and began to comfort her one by one. Ningning, do not be afraid. We will protect you in the future and will not allow that heartless mother and daughter to bully you again. Indeed, sister-in-law, you are now a member of the Xiao family. No one shall dare to bully you. Sister-in-law, do not worry. I will protect you. I can fight, you know. Xiao Qingya, fearing that Su Qingning might doubt her martial prowess, began to demonstrate a few moves with her chubby little fists. Xiao Huaijin scoffed, looking down on her. With that kind of mediocre skill, it would be a miracle if you didn't cause trouble instead of protecting your sister-in-law. Xiao Qingya, unconvinced, struck a challenging pose after a few moves. Not convinced. Come, let us have a match. Xiao Huaijin quickly retreated in alarm. Who would dare to compete with you? If you scrape your skin, mother will scold me for days. Su Qingning observed the harmonious atmosphere among the Xiao family. Although she wanted to say that they seemed to be mistaken, as it should be Shun Shi and her daughter, who were fearful, she was nonetheless touched by the genuine affection of her family for the first time, filling her heart with warmth. After a while, the exiled group set off under the escort of the officials. According to historical accounts, this year marked the beginning of an unprecedented 4-year drought in the Daqian dynasty, causing countless commoners to be displaced and perish in the streets, referred to as the Yuanda drought. Yuanda is the current era name. It was only June, yet the weather was already peculiar. Several counties in the outskirts of the capital had not seen a drop of rain for 3 consecutive months, with the scorching sun raising the perceived temperature to at least 35 degrees Celsius. The exiled prisoners were all delicate and accustomed to a life of luxury, many being elderly, weak, women, and children. After just an hour of walking, they began to voice their complaints, the lines staggering as they trudged along. The officials lashed out with whips at several individuals, silencing many of the complaints. Still, some fainted from heat stroke and were revived only to be forced to continue moving forward. Su Qingning noticed that the Xiao family members were also quite fatigued, so she filled her clean water pouches with spring water, pretending to pull them from her pack to hand out to everyone. At that moment, they were all dizzy from the heat and did not question how she could produce so much water from her seemingly ordinary bag. The refreshing and sweet spring water slid down their parched throats and into their bellies, like a sudden surge of spiritual energy coursing through their bodies, clearing the previously blocked meridians. Instantly, they felt their headaches and fatigue lessen. Even the heat from the sun felt alleviated. They felt light on their feet, as if they could walk another 50 miles. The expressions on the Xiao family members were filled with astonishment. Xiao Huaishua exchanged glances with everyone, and they finally snapped back to reality, casually sipping from the spring water. They all keenly sensed that there was something extraordinary, even somewhat mysterious about Su Qingning. However, with so many people around, they could only pretend as if nothing had happened. Sister-in-law's water is sweet, Xiao Qingya exclaimed, taking a large gulp of the spring water, her eyes turning into crescent moons. Su Qingning casually concocted an explanation. Yes, sister-in-law added some sugar. Do you like it? I like it. Sister-in-law is sweet too. I like sister-in-law. Xiao Qingya's face lit up with delightful dimples, looking adorably charming. Su Qingning's heart melted at the sight, and she couldn't resist pinching her soft little arm. Seeing that everyone was reluctant to drink the water in their hands, Su Qingning quietly instructed, "You do not need to hold back. I have plenty of water. Drink as much as you want." She realized that the Xiao family genuinely cared for her, so she would do her utmost to take care of them. Even though they knew Su Qingning was quite extraordinary, the Xiao family was still somewhat intimidated by her words. Several individuals gaped, still reeling from the shock, when they heard an outcry from ahead. "Official, help. My husband is unwell. Official, over there. The Su family's master and young master have also fainted." Fourth brother Xiao Huaiqin had long harbored a disdain for the unscrupulous individuals of the Su family. With a cold tone, he remarked, "Mother, please do not indulge in misplaced kindness. We are, after all, in-laws with Su Bingsheng. Since this morning, has he even inquired about your well-being? Perhaps he harbors disdain for you in his heart. How could he possibly desire water you have consumed?" Zhang Qinxue surveyed the surrounding faces of the Xiao family, noting their disapproving expressions. In an instant, it dawned upon her that the malevolent Su family was hardly deserving of their compassion. Hastily, she tucked the water pouch back into her embrace and strode confidently past the wailing Su family. Observing the pitiable countenance of the Su family, Su Qingning felt a surge of joy so overwhelming that she inadvertently increased the wind speed around her. Xiao Qingya, walking behind her, could not suppress a series of sneezes. The surrounding individuals, feeling the heat and yearning for relief, cast surprised glances at the Xiao family. Zhang Qinxue quickly produced a handkerchief, seizing the opportunity to cover Xiao Qingya's mouth. "Oh dear, Yar, you caught a chill after last night's swim, and you still haven't recovered?" Su Qingning turned around, only to meet the inquisitive gaze of Xiao Huaishua. She swiftly averted her gaze, discreetly reducing the wind speed. The members of the Xiao family, acutely aware of the sudden change in the breeze, exchanged silent glances and continued forward. Meanwhile, on the Su side, Su Qingji lay on the ground, his body flushed, resembling a roasted pig nearing completion. Concubine Shun knelt beside him, tears streaming down her cheeks. As Zhao Jinhai approached, she hurriedly offered him a silver ingot. "Sir, may we rest for a moment? My son has fainted." Zhao Jinhai frowned, unable to stifle his irritation. Although he desired a break, there was neither a water source nor a shade in sight. Remaining here would only exacerbate the risk of heat stroke among the crowd. The only solution was to hasten onward to the next resting point. He then cracked the whip in the air, instructing, "Wake these individuals and keep moving. If you continue to wail, beware of my whip." Several officers adeptly approached the fallen, ensuring they were roused. Before long, both Su Qingji and Su Bingxing regained consciousness, only to be compelled to march onward. However, as noon approached, the sun grew increasingly oppressive. The travelers found it increasingly arduous, with many collapsing only to be revived and forced to continue. Tragically, 2 individuals of frail constitution perished, their bodies discarded by the roadside. Su Qingning observed this grim spectacle with an impassive demeanor. Safeguarding the Xiao family's well-being on their journey to Lingnan had already consumed her efforts. How could she expose her own vulnerabilities for the sake of unrelated individuals? She was no saint. Throughout the journey, Su Bingxing and Su Qingji had fainted multiple times, their bodies marred by old and new injuries alike. Concubine Shun, Su Qingyin, and the other members of the Su family bore their own wounds, weeping as they trudged along. Not far behind, the officers wielding whips ensured that lagging individuals felt the sting of punishment. The exiled group passed several dry streams, yet still found no suitable resting place. Even the Xiao family, accustomed to drinking from the Lingquan, began to show signs of fatigue. Grandmother Lu Qing, exhausted, gasped for air, her weight leaning heavily against Zhang Qinxue for support. Worried, Zhang Qinxue asked, "Mother, do you feel unwell?" Lu Qing's brow furrowed, her hand clutching her chest, as if enduring intense pain. "I am fine, let us proceed." Su Qingning frowned. Having previously checked her grandmother's pulse, she was aware of her heart condition. It was evident that overexertion had led to myocardial ischemia, resulting in angina. She promptly supported Lu Qing, laying her down on the ground, and instructed the Xiao family members nearby. Grandmother's heart condition has flared up. Immediate treatment is essential. We cannot proceed any further. Ningning, you possess medical knowledge? Zhang Qinxue exclaimed in astonishment. How could her daughter-in-law be so capable? She seemed like a fairy from a storybook. Indeed, I learned from my mother in my youth. Su Qingning replied, fabricating a reason as she swiftly produced a Baoxin pill and placed it in Lu Qing's mouth. With practiced skill, she retrieved silver needles and expertly needled several acupoints on Lu Qing's body. Heart disease cannot be eradicated solely through medication. It appeared she would need to devise a plan for surgery in the future. The Xiao family members, witnessing her deft movements as the silver needles flew with precision into the acupoints, were captivated. Without hesitation, they gathered around, forming a protective circle around Su Qingning and Lu Qing. Nearby, Officer Zhang De noticed the sudden halt of the Xiao family and promptly lashed out with his whip. What are you all dawdling for? Do you wish to feel the sting of my whip? His eyes glinted with malice, and he intentionally increased the force of his strike. He had long held disdain for the Xiao family, as the path of exile was supposed to be fraught with difficulties, yet they appeared to be on a leisurely outing. Seeming even more at ease than he, a mere officer. As the whip descended towards Su Qingming's back, revealing her delicate shoulder, it was abruptly intercepted by a hand with distinctly defined knuckles. The barbed tip of the whip sank into Xiao Huaishua's palm, crimson blood oozing between the alabaster fingers. Yet, he remained unperturbed, firmly gripping the whip. Zhang De's anger flared, but despite his efforts, he could not retract the whip. What are you trying to do? Let go at once. Understanding that it was unwise to confront the officer at this moment, his sister-in-law quickly retrieved a hidden piece of silver from her thick hair and handed it to him, coaxing, Sir, we have passed several resting points without encountering a water source. If everyone continues without rest, we will only slow our pace, ultimately hindering our journey. It would be better to allow a brief respite so that we may travel more swiftly afterward. Though Zhang seethed with resentment, he recognized he was no match for Xiao Huaishua. Reluctantly, he accepted the silver, spat on the ground, and sought out Zhao Jinhai to report the situation. Zhao Jinhai, equally overwhelmed, noted the rising heat and feared that continuing would make it even more difficult to find water. He ordered everyone to halt and rest. Shortly thereafter, Lu Qing regained consciousness. Seeing Su Qingming bustling about beside her, she felt immense gratitude and took out a handkerchief to wipe the sweat from her brow. Good child. You have worked hard. Please sit and rest for a moment. Witnessing Lu Qing's evident discomfort, yet her first concern was for Su Qingming, warmed her heart. She grasped her grandmother's thin, frail hand, replying, Grandmother, I am not weary. Now that we have stopped, you should take this opportunity to rest. Lu Qing observed their joined hands, and, catching sight of Su Qingming's scarred arms, felt a wave of sorrow. Child, what kind of life did you endure while in the Su household? Those wretched beings truly lack discernment. How could they mistreat someone as wonderful as you? Su Qingming, unfazed, responded, Grandmother, those times are behind us. Good and evil will ultimately be repaid. The Su family shall not meet a favorable end. I bear no grievances. Seeing her granddaughter's resilience only deepened Lu Qing's heartache. Tears glistened in her eyes as she gently stroked Su Qingming's head. Surely, it is the blessings accumulated by my ancestors of the Xiao family that have allowed me to marry such a wonderful child as Ningning. Do not be afraid, Ningning. As long as grandmother is here, I will ensure that those malicious beings will never bully you again. The other women of the Xiao family, standing nearby, also wore expressions of deep sympathy, quietly comforting Su Qingming. At that moment, however, fourth brother Xiao Huaiqin suddenly poked his head out from behind their grandmother. His face adorned with the radiant smile unique to youth. Sister-in-law, look at this. Su Qingming looked up, her eyes brightening with delight. Xiao Huaiqin held in his hands a sunshade crafted from leaves and vines. The craftsmanship was exquisite, leaving even her, a traveler from another world, in awe. No wonder Xiao Huaiqin had been lagging behind the crowd earlier. He must have been gathering leaves. Su Qingming accepted the leaf umbrella he offered her, a brilliant smile blooming on her face. Did you make this? Fourth brother, you are amazing. Xiao Huaiqin's face flushed slightly as he stammered, actually. But upon catching a glimpse of Xiao Huai's warning gaze, he promptly retracted his words and boldly admitted, yes. Sister-in-law, my skills are quite good. Father often took us into the mountains for training, and my brothers and I can make many things. Internally, he was nearly bursting with laughter, as it was clear that third brother was genuinely concerned for his sister-in-law, insisting that he pick leaves from the roadside. He had crafted a leaf umbrella with his own hands, but felt too embarrassed to present it directly. Instead, he had to have Xiao Huaiqin do so. If the soldiers at the border knew their revered warrior displayed such awkwardness before his wife, they would surely burst into laughter. Su Qingming was unaware of Xiao Huaiqin's inner thoughts and hurriedly handed the umbrella to Lu Qing. In their desolate journey, where one could only occasionally spot scattered weeds and trees, the umbrella proved to be quite useful. Lu Qing, with a loving expression, pushed the umbrella back to Su Qingning. Since it was given to you by Huaiqin, you should keep it for yourself. Grandmother is not hot. Su Qingning glanced at the beads of sweat forming on Lu Qing's forehead, but chose not to expose her. Instead, she subtly increased the wind around them, sitting beside her while holding the umbrella. All right, then I will share the shade with grandmother. The Xiao family was not particularly tired. After sitting down to sip some spiritual spring water and enjoying the gentle breeze, they soon regained their strength and even found themselves appreciating the scenery around them. They began to feel that this journey of exile was not as arduous as they had imagined. After a while, the officials began shouting for rations. Mealtime. Black buns are free, white buns cost 21, and a filled water pouch is 51. As soon as the words were spoken, a wave of complaints erupted. The prisoners had little money to begin with, and now the officials were extorting them. It seemed that by the time they had traveled halfway, they would be penniless. 50 could buy a lavish meal of 3 dishes and a soup in the capital, yet now it could only exchange for a water pouch? Why don't you go rob someone? Please, good sir, my child is nearly at death's door. The officials, too lazy to engage in lengthy discussions, whipped the loudest complainers into silence, and the surroundings fell quiet. Stop your wailing. No one is forcing you to pay. If you don't want to spend money, you can have the black buns. After all, it was no easy task for the officials to travel this route. They were determined to find ways to profit from the prisoners. Providing them with black buns was already quite generous. Many were reluctant to part with their hard-earned money and thus opted for the free black buns. They swallowed the hard buns while stifling cries, enduring the sharp pain in their throats. The package given to Shun's family contained some provisions, originally meant for her one son and one daughter. She had intended to discreetly consume them. Yet, under Su Bingxing's pressure, she had to distribute a significant portion of the food to his various concubines and their illegitimate children. Anger boiled within Shen Yinyang, but she dared not voice it. Su Qingji, driven by hunger, grabbed the bun given by Shen Yinyang and began to gulp it down. Before long, he choked, his eyes rolling back as he cried out for help. Mother, water! Quickly, give me water! The water from Shun's household had long been consumed, forcing her to painfully spend 50 on a water pouch. However, as soon as she purchased it, it was quickly emptied by Su Bingxing and Su Qingji. Reluctant to spend more money, Shen Yinyang could only endure her thirst, praying they would reach the next town soon. Meanwhile, on the Xiao family's side, Lu Qing, oblivious to the surrounding circumstances, took out some silver coins from her flowered pouch and handed them to Xiao Huaiqin. Huaiqin, go buy a few white buns for everyone to share. Su Qingning, feeling hungry but not keen on eating the hard buns, noticed that the Xiao family was gathered together. As long as no one deliberately approached to check, no one would know what they were doing. Grandmother, there's no need to buy. I have food in my bundle. As she spoke, she pulled out one steaming meat bun after another from the pouch given by her grandmother. The Xiao family members were left in shock. Throughout this journey, they had known of Su Qingning's remarkable abilities, yet they had not expected her to produce a dozen hot meat buns from a single pouch. This could not merely be termed as a talent. It was akin to divine magic. In an instant, a thought arose in everyone's minds. Could it be that heaven, seeing the Xiao family suffer injustice, had sent a celestial being to rescue them? The expressions in their eyes were complex. Fortunately, they all had good composure, and soon returned to normal. Without exchanging words, they instinctively huddled closer together, shielding themselves from prying eyes. Xiao Huai was the first to break the heavy silence. Thanks to grandmother's foresight, otherwise we would have been left hungry. The others nodded in agreement. Indeed, thanks to Ningning, we would have endured great suffering on this journey. Oh, this old lady's cooking is truly exceptional. I can smell the aroma of the meat buns even before tasting them. Youngest sister Xiao Qingya gazed at Su Qingning with starry eyes, exclaiming, sister-in-law is so incredible, just like a fairy from a picture book. Grandmother Lu Qing, however, scanned the surroundings with concern. Fortunately, everyone was either eating or resting, too famished and exhausted to notice their little gathering, allowing her to breathe a sigh of relief. She looked at the members of the Xiao family and, still worried, sternly warned, listen to me, everyone. Our Ningning is not an ordinary person. Her willingness to accompany us into exile and treat us kindly is a reflection of her kind heart. We must reciprocate her goodness. We must always consider her feelings and never reveal her secrets. Everyone nodded in agreement, casting grateful glances at Su Qingning. The bond between people is reciprocal. Since their younger sister treats them so well, they must also repay her kindness. Indeed, if it weren't for Ningning, who knows how miserable we would have been on this journey. Marrying Ningning is a blessing for our Xiao family. We cannot speak of it carelessly. Xiao Qingya playfully mimicked covering her mouth with her hands, her round, sparkling eyes making her look utterly adorable. Yaya knows nothing at all. Seeing the Xiao family united in purpose, Su Qingning felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Since they were so cooperative, it would be much easier to bring out food in the future without the need for secrecy. She wrapped several meat buns in oil paper and instructed fourth brother Xiao Huaiqin to deliver them to a few of the officials. Quietly, she also took out some pastries and handed them to Xiao Qingya before finally beginning to share the meat buns with everyone. Though several individuals had brought their own provisions, They could not help but be captivated by the exquisitely crafted meat buns before them. It was rumored that these delicacies were brought by Su Qingning's grandmother, and no one questioned their origin. As they savored the buns, their gazes toward the Xiao family softened noticeably. The Xiao family sat closely together, while Su Qingning intentionally directed the breeze towards an unoccupied area, preventing the enticing aroma from reaching the others. Fortunately, few noticed their peculiar behavior. Xiao Qingya, with a pastry in her left hand and a large meat bun in her right, was munching contentedly, her eyes squinting into crescent moons of delight. She eagerly offered Su Qingning some green bean cake, urging, "Sister-in-law, you must try this." Su Qingning happily accepted the treat, her heart swelling with joy. Who could understand the delight of suddenly having a little sister? Xiao Huaishua, slowly enjoying his bun, noticed all the women in the family were focused on Su Qingning, striving to care for her. A vague sense of insecurity arose within him, feeling his status in the family precarious. After a moment of internal struggle, he meticulously wiped his hands and presented her with the largest bun. "You must be tired. Please eat more." Su Qingning, oblivious to his awkward tone and gestures, beamed at him, her fair face blooming with a smile that outshone the midday sun. The sight made Xiao Huaishua's heart flutter, nearly causing him to drop the bun. She quickly caught it, noticing the faint blush on his earlobes, which sent her into fits of laughter. The contrast between the valiant protector of the nation and the innocent youth was utterly charming. On the other hand, the atmosphere at the Su family was dismal. The provisions from the Shin family were meager, and Su Bingxing had forced them to be shared with favored concubines and illegitimate children. Even after distributing all the food, it barely satisfied everyone's hunger. The neglected concubines and their attendants, both impoverished and famished, could only nibble on free, hard black buns. They had been parched all day, their throats burning painfully. With no energy to continue their journey, they endured the agony of consuming the stony buns in silence. Su Bingxing and Su Chengji lay sprawled on the ground, lamenting with a mix of old and new injuries, blaming the heavens and others while refusing to reflect on their own shortcomings. The only consolation was that they had eaten Shun's buns at noon. Watching others gnawing on their buns brought them a modicum of comfort, and they were curious about the tragic plight of Su Qingning. However, the Xiao family remained tightly knit, and the two men had to change positions several times before they could catch a glimpse of her enjoying a bun. By this time, the Xiao family had nearly finished their meal, leaving only a few meat buns in plain sight. The Su family men assumed these were the ones Su Qingning had taken from her bag. Instantly, jealousy ignited within them, and their previously unhungry bellies began to grumble. Su Qingji, who had often bullied Su Qingning in the past, approached her brazenly, demanding, "You little wretch, hand over that meat bun." Before Su Qingning could react, Xiao Huaishua subtly moved his finger, launching a stone that struck Su Qingji's knee. With an agonizing thud, Su Qingji stumbled and fell to his knees before the Xiao family, provoking laughter from the onlookers. Su Qingning, her eyes gleaming with amusement, exclaimed, "Who knew our valiant king had a sense of humor? Oh, is this not my dear brother coming to pay his respects early for the new year? Your intentions are noted. Now please take your leave." As Su Qingji regained his composure, doubt flickered in his mind about whether someone had interfered, causing him embarrassment. Yet, seeing Su Qingning's smiling face stoked his fury, and he rushed to slap her. "You little wretch, was that intentional? Have you become so bold in my absence?" With a swift motion, Su Qingning caught his hand before it could reach her face, twisting it back at an odd angle. "Ah, it hurts. Mother, father, this little wretch dares to strike me." The absurdity of a man in his 20s calling for his parents when bested by a girl was laughable. Aunt Shen rushed over, shielding Su Qingji and tending to his injury, while Su Bingxing, enraged at his beloved son's humiliation, pointed an accusatory finger at Su Qingning. "Unfilial daughter, how dare you strike your brother? Kneel and apologize at once." Su Bingxing's heart was aflame with indignation. It was Su Qingji who acted first, yet he demanded an apology from Su Qingning. Unfazed, she replied with a smirk, "Why should I apologize? He struck me first. Should I simply allow him to hit me?" Su Bingxing was taken aback by her defiance, his anger flaring further. "What is wrong with your brother teaching you a lesson? After all these years of support from the Su family, don't you owe us some gratitude?" Despite the prevailing societal norms favoring males, the onlookers were appalled by Su Bingxing's shamelessness, muttering amongst themselves. The Xiao family quickly positioned themselves protectively around Su Qingning, their tempers flaring. "You shameless old dog. A married daughter is like spilled water. The laws of Deqian dictate that a woman must honor her in-laws, but there is no mandate to honor her birth family. Why should our Ning Ning be obliged to show respect to you?" Xiao Huijin clenched his fists, ready to defend his sister. "What? You dare to bully my sister? Do you think my fists lack strength?" Realizing he could not best the fierce Xiao family, Su Bingxing turned to target easier prey. "If you refuse to apologize, Su Qingning, hand over that bun to your brother as an apology. If you continue to defy me, do not expect to be recognized as my daughter." Su Qingning's eyes widened in delight at this unexpected turn of events. "Oh, what a splendid opportunity. I have long wished to sever ties with this wretched father." She pinched her thigh, conjuring a few crocodile tears, and gazed at Su Bingxing with feigned sorrow. Father, how can you forsake your daughter? Mother entrusted you to care for me before her passing. Wouldn't this cause her to suffer in the afterlife? Mentioning the Gu family only fueled Su Bingxing's irritation. Seeing Su Qingming's sudden submission, he continued to threaten her. I, Su Bingxing, will not tolerate a disobedient daughter. If you do not hand over your food, I will write a letter to sever our ties. Su Qingming lifted a portion of her sleeve, revealing the scars on her arms to the onlookers. Tears cascaded down in great drops, her chest heaving violently, her speech fragmented and halting. The expression of sorrow and indignation on her face was perfectly measured. Father, you have long held disdain for your daughter. You no longer desire her, do you? Otherwise, you would not have allowed the concubines and servants in this household to mistreat me for so many years. If that is the case, then I shall fulfill your wish and sign this severance letter. With that, she produced a charcoal pencil and a piece of white silk from her bundle. In a matter of moments, she prepared the document and handed it to Su Bingxing. Ning, this cannot be. Zhang Qinshui's eyes brimmed with concern as she attempted to intervene, for filial piety was paramount in ancient times, and severing ties with one's family would tarnish her reputation. Just as she moved to grasp Su Qingming's arm, she was stopped by a glance from Xiao Huaishua. Su Bingxing stared blankly at the white silk before him. After all, severing their relationship would render him unable to assert his authority over Su Qingming. He had no true desire to cut ties. His earlier threats were merely a means of coercion. Father? Su Bingxing looked up and was met by a pair of deep, dark eyes. In that moment, he seemed to lose all sense of self. Compelled to heed the voice that echoed from within. Hesitantly, he bit his finger and pressed it onto the document. Having undergone hypnosis training during her time as an operative, Su Qingming found it remarkably easy to manipulate Su Bingxing. Satisfied, she tucked the severance letter back into her bundle, returning to her pitiful demeanor. I know, Father, that you have never favored your daughter. Thus, I shall comply with your wishes and sign this severance letter. The road of life is long, and without your daughter by your side, I hope you fare well. It was likely due to the sheer brilliance of Su Qingming's performance that those around her felt immense sympathy, directing their whispers towards Su Bingxing. Goodness, I have never encountered such shamelessness. I heard Su Bingxing was once a poor youth. He married into the Gu family only to obtain their support for his examinations. Once he became a chancellor, he turned his back on them. Not only did he favor his concubines over his wife, but he also oppressed the prosperous Gu family. The Su family is truly heartless. Young Miss Su has suffered immensely since childhood. Mother, let us keep our distance from the Su family. They are truly wicked. Who knows what other vile deeds they may commit on this journey. The members of the Xiao family also wore expressions of deep concern, stepping forward to comfort Su Qingming. Dear sister, do not grieve. The Su family may not want you, but we do. Indeed, it is better to sever ties. Let that beast of a father be. Xiao Qingya tiptoed, offering her a handkerchief with her tiny, chubby hand. Sister-in-law, do not cry. You are not alone. I will play with you every day from now on. In truth, Su Qingming felt an overwhelming joy at this moment. Seeing the genuine care from the Xiao family made her heart swell with warmth. Yes, she now had a family that truly cherished her. What more could she desire? Meanwhile, Su Bingxing remained rooted in place, seemingly dazed. Madame Shen, standing nearby, whispered in frustration, Oh, my lord, how can you sever ties with that wretched girl? She now has the Xiao family backing her and has never heeded our discipline. After severing ties, will she not rebel entirely? Su Bingxing regained his senses, bewildered at how he had agreed to sever ties with that little wretch. The pointed fingers of those around him filled him with ire. And hearing Madame Shen's incessant nagging only fueled his anger. He swung his hand at her. The affairs of the Su family are mine to dictate. When did it become your place to meddle? The slap shattered the numerous large boils on Madame Shen's face, covering his hand in a foul, yellowish substance. The unpleasantness caused Su Bingxing to retch repeatedly. The faint remnants of their childhood affection vanished completely, and he no longer wished to spare her a glance. Looking at Su Qingyin, whose face was also marred with red rashes and wrinkles, he felt a deep-seated disdain that he could not conceal. To him, his daughters were mere tools for his rise to power. With Su Qingyin's beauty ruined, she was no different from refuse. Su Bingxing surveyed the crowd, his gaze lingering on his third daughter, Su Qingro. A sudden scheme formed in his mind as he beckoned her over. Ro'er, come here. I have a task for you. Chapter 20. To exile you, yet you bring the whole family for an outing. Su Bingxing whispered incessantly to Su Qingro, their eyes betraying their hidden machinations. The heart of Madame Qin, seated among the Su family, twisted in apprehension as she closely monitored Su Bingxing, fearful that he might coax her daughter into a foolish act. Eventually, Su Bingxing nodded in satisfaction, patting Su Qingro's shoulder. Ro'er, you are truly understanding. Your father has not wronged you in the past. Whether our Su family can enjoy a prosperous future depends entirely on you. Su Qingro obediently nodded before returning to Madame Qin's side. Having been the top courtesan before entering the Su residence, Madame Qin had encountered countless patrons and understood Su Bingxing's nature. He was selfish and self-serving, caring little for the lives of his daughters, viewing them solely as instruments for his power struggles. The more she contemplated, the more uneasy she felt, and she quietly advised Su Qingro, heir, heed your mother's counsel. Your father only considers his own interests. Do not heed his words and risk harming yourself by provoking those you should not. Since childhood, Su Qingro had felt shame due to her mother's background, and she could hardly bear her mother's lowly demeanor. With a scoff, she retorted, what do you know? Water flows downward, and humans strive upward. How can one ascend without being ruthless to oneself? Upon hearing this, Madame Qin realized that Su Bingsheng had undoubtedly planted some insidious idea in her daughter's mind. She quickly urged, oh, heir, I understand your feelings for the War King. I possess many resources hidden away, but it is not convenient to reveal them now with so many eyes upon us. Life will gradually improve, and I will strategize for you. Why must you heed your father's words and take unnecessary risks? Impatient, Su Qingro shrugged off Madame Qin's grasp. Enough. Mind your own business. A lowly courtesan like you has such limited vision. Su Qingro desired far more than merely marrying Xiao Huaishua. She aspired to wield greater power and trample Su Qingning beneath her feet, seizing everything from her, including her man. To achieve such lofty ambitions, what was the sacrifice of a small price? Thus, Su Qingro, fully aware of Su Bingsheng's exploitation, still chose to follow his instructions. After a brief respite, the officials began to whip the prisoners onward. At noon, the sun blazed even more fiercely than before. The exiles were drenched in sweat, their clothes soaked as if they had been submerged in water. Many collapsed from heat exhaustion due to their inability to purchase water, only to be revived by the officials pinching their acupoints and forced to continue. Some elderly, weak, or ill fell and did not rise again, discarded by the officials at the roadside. In contrast, the members of the Xiao family, positioned at the back of the line, fared significantly better. Sipping from refreshing spring water and enjoying the cool breeze controlled by Su Qingning's powers, they were occasionally treated to snacks by her. Aside from some discomfort from walking, they felt little fatigue. Rather than a journey of exile, it resembled an outing with family. From time to time, Su Qingning discreetly distributed silver coins to the officials surrounding them, beneath the canopy of the leaf umbrella crafted by Xiao Huaishua. While savoring seeds and basking in the cool air of the surroundings, one cannot help but feel an overwhelming sense of contentment amidst the expanse of wilderness. Observing the once cruel members of the Su family trudging ahead like mere shadows of their former selves, their misery only amplifies her own burgeoning happiness. The officials trailing behind, benefiting from the situation, seem indifferent to the plight of the Xiao family. Noticing Su Qingning continuously extracting various delicacies from her bundle, they attribute her generosity to the thoughtfulness of her maternal grandmother, oblivious to any ulterior motives. After 2 hours of travel, the weary Su family finally arrives at a modest relay station nestled against the mountains and beside a river. Although the accommodations are rudimentary, they at least offer water and shelter, providing a semblance of safety for the night. Once settled, the innkeeper began to quote prices. Officials could occupy better rooms, while exiles were relegated to cramped 10-person dormitories for 800 won a night, with additional fees for kitchen and bathing privileges. Those without funds were left with nothing but coarse black buns, forced to sleep in the stables. This announcement elicited a chorus of despair, the faces of the exiles reflecting utter hopelessness. It was well known that the journey was fraught with danger. However, the avarice of these officials was shocking. A dilapidated dormitory here cost more than a room in the capital. With expenses mounting, there was uncertainty about their ability to reach their destination intact. The Xiao family gathered for an impromptu family meeting. Although their homes had been raided unexpectedly, they still possessed some valuables. Grandmother Liuqing glanced at everyone, rolled up her sleeves, and removed a layer of false skin from her arm, revealing a hidden silver note that she handed to Su Qingning. Currently, Ning possesses the most funds among us. They all contributed their hidden savings to her for her to manage. Subsequently, Su Qingning watched as her mother, Zhang Qinxue, retrieved a 100-tael silver note from the soul of Xiao Qingyaxu. Her sister-in-law, Li Xuani, produced a hefty gold ingot from her thick hair, and her second sister-in-law, Jiang Xinyue, blushing, turned away to extract 300 taels from a hidden compartment in her clothing. Even Xiao Huijin managed to pull several large silver notes and a heap of loose change from the seams of Xiao Huishua's wheelchair cushion. Su Qingning exclaimed, "What happened to the promise that the Xiao family comprises honest individuals? You deceitful author." Yet, at this moment, Su Qingning was in no short supply of silver. She hastily returned the money, insisting, "Grandmother, mother, sisters-in-law, I have plenty of funds. You should keep yours. I will ask for more if I run low." Understanding her capabilities, they did not protest further and stowed their money away. Now, in exile, there were fewer pretenses. All ages and genders mingled in shared quarters. With 8 members in the Xiao family, Su Qingning secured a 10-person dormitory for them, additionally paying for the use of a bathtub and kitchen for the night. As a seasoned foodie, Su Qingning could never bring herself to consume the meager rations provided by the officials. Observing the scant supplies in the kitchen, she sought permission from the officials to forage for food in the forest. The official, having previously accepted many of her silver coins, did not hinder her, merely advising her to return quickly. Seeing Su Qingming striding purposefully outside, Xiao Huaishua surmised her intentions and calmly suggested, "Let the fourth brother accompany you." With a teasing smile, Su Qingming replied, "What? Afraid I might escape? Not at all. It's simply that this remote area may harbor wild beasts," he retorted. Having seldom spoken to women, Xiao Huaishua felt uneasy under Su Qingming's intense gaze, stumbling over his words. Amused, Su Qingming decided to cease her teasing and signaled to Xiao Huaijin, "Let us go." Xiao Huaijin scratched his head, glancing around, feeling somewhat superfluous when his third brother was with his sister-in-law. After receiving a glare from Xiao Huaishua, he reluctantly followed Su Qingming. Watching their retreating figures, a shadow of gloom flickered in Xiao Huaishua's eyes. For the first time, he yearned for his leg ailment to heal swiftly, so he would not require constant care and could remain by her side. The relay station was enveloped by the endless Qi Yun mountain range. Strangely, this area was seldom frequented by humans, and the vegetation flourished abundantly. As they walked, the two gathered a variety of wild vegetables, quickly filling a large basket. Suddenly, Su Qingming's eyes brightened as she pointed to a cliff, exclaiming, "Fourth brother, that is Ban Yi Chao, renowned for its excellent blood circulating and bruising properties. Go collect some. We can brew it for your brother." Xiao Huaijin looked up and indeed spotted a pale purple plant on the opposite cliff. Without hesitation, he activated his lightness skill and leaped across. As a scion of a martial family, at the tender age of 14 or 15, his agility was remarkable. With a few deft maneuvers, he plucked the Ban Yi Chao. However, before he could revel in his success, a chilling scream echoed from below. In truth, Su Qingming had an ample supply of Ban Yi Chao in her space, sending Xiao Huaijin to fetch it primarily to distract him. Seeing him dart away, she quickly summoned a small wild boar from her spatial farm. The creature, having been napping in the space, was suddenly thrust into a new environment and, sensing its impending doom, began to struggle and squeal pitifully. Su Qingming exerted considerable effort to bind its limbs with vines. Hearing the scream, Xiao Huaijin thought something had befallen his sister-in-law and hurried back. To his astonishment, he discovered the petite Su Qingming struggling with a wriggling wild pig on her shoulder. Stunned, he gasped, "Third sister-in-law, you are incredible. You caught this." After a moment, he added, "Well, I suppose one gets used to it. Grandmother said you are a celestial being. We must support whatever outrageous things you do." Taking the wild boar and the basket from Su Qingming, they returned to the relay station, content. The other members of the Xiao family, astonished at the sight of the two returning with a wild pig despite having no tools, quickly rationalized that perhaps Su Qingming truly was a celestial being, making their catch less surprising. They resumed their activities, processing the spoils brought back by the duo. Liu Qing and the second sister-in-law, Jiang Xinyue, busied themselves in the kitchen. Even the pampered Zhang Qinxue and Li Xuanyi contributed by performing simple tasks, alongside Xiao Qingyao washing the wild vegetables. They had reached a tacit understanding. They all felt that Su Qingming worked hard enough, and any tasks they could manage, they would take on themselves. Thus, when Su Qingming intended to assist in the kitchen, she was firmly pushed back into her room by Liu Qing. "Ning Ning, you must be tired. Go take a bath and rest. I, along with your mother and sisters-in-law, will prepare the meal. Just wait to eat." Xiao Huaijin and Xiao Huaishua discreetly exited, leaving her to recuperate in solitude. Grateful for the thoughtfulness of the Xiao family, Su Qingming felt warmth enveloping her heart. This body, having endured much suffering, was indeed weary. Thus, she did not resist her grandmother's insistence. After retrieving some seasonings from her bundle to hand to her, she locked the door and slipped into her space. Time flowed differently there, allowing her to leisurely enjoy a bath and rest on a comfortable bed for a while. Feeling the weight of the shackles on her wrists was quite uncomfortable, Su Qingming directly instructed Xiao AI to create a realistic replica using a 3D printer. Once Su Qingming adorned her hands with the replica, the chains clanked noisily. Upon close inspection, one could scarcely detect any flaws, though it was significantly lighter than the original. Her eyes sparkled with delight, as if she had stumbled upon a new world. She then requested Xiao AI to print a set of aged prison attire and shoes to replace her old, worn, and odorous garments. Specifically, she had Xiao AI enlarge the new shoes slightly and fill them with plush, comfortable insoles. After carefully examining the realistic mud stains and sweat marks on her clothing and shoes, she took a turn in front of the mirror, ensuring everything was satisfactory before she contentedly made her way to the dining hall. As she entered, the rich aroma of the meals wafted through the air, causing her stomach to rumble uncontrollably. Given the limited conditions, the female members of the Xiao family had prepared a hearty stew with all the available ingredients. Although Su Qingming had tasted countless delicacies in her past life, these wild vegetables paled in comparison. However, as she sat at the table, enveloped in the warm atmosphere of family unity, she found this meal extraordinarily delicious, unable to resist bowl after bowl. The pig Su Qingming had captured was quite robust, and the Xiao family could hardly finish it all. Liu Qing, as was customary, instructed Xiao Huaiqin to serve a large pot to the officials. Even though the officials typically enjoyed better meals than the exiles, they rarely had the opportunity to eat meat. Now, with a generous pot of flavorful stewed pork before them, each official beamed with joy. Their attitudes toward the Xiao family softened considerably. Only Zhang De, who had previously suffered embarrassment at the hands of the Xiao family, remained disdainful, scoffing as he devoured the stewed meat. It's not that great. The skillful hunting and cooking of the Xiao family led him to muse that they likely honed their culinary skills during military campaigns. The younger officer, Li Yong, could no longer contain himself and rebuked. What nonsense are you spouting? The Xiao family's reputation as warriors is renowned across the land. The current third young master, Xiao Huaishuo, is both wise and brave, leading troops into battle at just 15 years of age, defeating 30,000 of the Western Rome with a mere 10,000 men. He has never faced defeat, safeguarding our Deqian for years. Even if the Xiao family faces accusations now, we cannot tarnish the honor earned through generations of sacrifice. Zhang De dared not argue further, but continued to mutter disdainfully as he ate. What does past glory matter now? Aren't they just prisoners beneath my feet? Meanwhile, the Su family found themselves cornered, forced into reluctant cooperation. A few concubines, despite their venomous animosity towards one another, mimicked Su Qingning's initiative to bribe officials for wild vegetables from the mountains and purchased a few steamed buns. They gathered at a large table in the dining hall to share their meager meal. Initially, they only aimed to sustain their strength by forcing down the bland vegetable leaves and buns. However, the tantalizing aroma of the Xiao family's stewed meat wafted over, making the taste of their insipid meal even more unbearable. The younger, illegitimate children, famished to the point of their stomachs growling audibly, became so incensed that they tossed aside their vegetable leaves and rolled on the ground in tears. The Xiao family, indulging in their fragrant stewed meat, pretended not to notice the pitiful glances of the Su family, who looked like stray dogs. The cruel whip marks on Ningning's body were all too visible to them. Had the Xiao family ever shown even a modicum of compassion towards her, they would not have been so merciless. Su Bingxing chewed on his bun, saliva uncontrollably pooling in his mouth. Noticing that the once timid Su Qingning did not even spare him a glance, he felt a surge of resentment and coldly declared, "You've cooked so much meat that you can't finish. Just give us the extra pot of stew." Chapter 22. Don't sleep tonight. I will come to find you. Su Qingning was nearly driven to laughter by his audacity. It was her first encounter with someone demanding alms while carrying such an air of arrogance. Not inclined to indulge him, she coldly replied, "It's not in abundance. We plan to add 3 more meals tonight. We'll finish it all." The Su family, driven to the brink of starvation, felt as if they might vomit blood upon hearing her words. Aunt Zhao spat on the ground in fury. "Bah? Stuffing your belly with so much meat. May you choke. You wretched girl." In the next moment, a small stone flew from Xiao Huaishua's hand, followed by his chilling voice, "If you cannot speak properly, there is no need to keep your teeth." The stone, propelled with great force, precisely knocked out one of Aunt Zhao's front teeth, sending her sprawling to the ground. The pain radiating from her gums caused her to writhe in agony. "Officer! Officer! They are hitting me! Officer! Come and do something! Woo-woo! They broke my teeth! Woo-woo! Make them pay!" The Aunt Zhao had originally been a maid to Aunt Shun, elevated to concubine status due to Su Bingxing's drunken indiscretion, known for her fiery temperament. She was now more concerned with extorting the Xiao family than tending to her injury. The officials, initially savoring the stewed pork provided by the Xiao family and wishing to avoid intervening unless absolutely necessary, found themselves increasingly irritated by Aunt Zhao's commotion. One officer, having barely had time to wipe his mouth, stormed out and delivered several harsh lashes to Aunt Zhao. "Be quiet. If you keep disturbing our meal, I will not hesitate to treat you unkindly. Woo-woo. I want to do it again. I want to do it again. Officer, please spare me." Aunt Zhao, frightened, huddled in a corner, refraining from crying out in pain, but casting glances filled with hatred and calculation toward the Xiao family. Su Bingxing, seated nearby, did not even spare Aunt Zhao a glance. To him, women were like clothing, whether one more or one less made little difference. However, he was undeniably hungry. Watching the Xiao family relish their tender pork, sipping on the rich and flavorful broth, he could not help but salivate, his stomach growling in protest. Finally, he lowered his voice. "Ning girl, I am at least your father. Can you bear to watch me starve?" Su Qingning bit into a generous piece of ribs, the rich broth and succulent pork filling her mouth with delight, causing her eyes to squint in bliss. Feeling magnanimous, she reminded him, "Su Leoi, you must be quite confused from hunger. You wrote me a letter severing our ties just this afternoon. You are no longer my father." Su Bingxing stared longingly at the fragrant piece of pork in her hand, swallowing hard, and awkwardly said, "Ahem, I was merely confused when I made that decision. As the saying goes, bonds of kinship are like sinews connecting broken bones. How could I bear to sever ties with you?" In truth, he could not fathom how he had been so foolish as to sign that letter. Yet, with ink on paper, it was difficult to deny. Just a moment of confusion? Su Qingning's expression resembled that of someone hearing a ridiculous joke. "From the moment of your birth, you have turned a blind eye to my suffering, allowing concubines and servants to beat me, letting me starve and freeze, forcing me into the most degrading tasks. Is this merely a moment of confusion? You truly are one who is confused for a lifetime, yet momentarily clever. Upon uttering these words, Su Qingning felt a significant release of the pent-up resentment within her. It seemed the grievances left by the original owner of this body were finally being resolved. The girl who has persevered through life from a young age must have yearned to voice her grievances publicly. Today, she finally realized that wish. At this moment, the atmosphere in the room thickened with tension. The members of the Xiao family were aware of Su Qingning's struggles over the past decade, feeling a deep sense of sorrow and concern for her, their faces reflecting sadness and worry. Beside her, Xiao Huaishua felt a pang of discomfort in his heart and gently patted her hand, which rested beneath the table. In contrast, the members of the Su family felt as if their shame was being publicly unveiled, stirring within them a mix of anger and humiliation, leading to an even deeper resentment towards Su Qingning. Yet, they all feared further repercussions and thus remained silent, shrinking back like quails. Only the carefree little girl, Xiao Qingya, continued to munch on a pig's bone, glancing at the visibly distressed Su family and curiously asking, "Mother, why are they only eating wild vegetables and not meat? Is it because they don't like it?" The innocent, babyish voice made Su Qingning unable to stifle a laugh, which caused her to cough lightly, covering her mouth. In the next moment, a slender hand offered her a half-new silk handkerchief. When she looked up, she met the calm and deep gaze of Xiao Huaishua, which seemed to encompass all. Su Qingning felt her cheeks flush and softly murmured her thanks. Zhang Qinxue, fearing her daughter's unfiltered words might provoke the Su family's ire, quickly enveloped her in a protective embrace. "Oh, my little ancestor. So much meat cannot silence your tongue." The table soon resumed a jovial atmosphere, while the Su family glared at the pot of delicious meat, their distress growing. Starved and desperate, Su Chengji suddenly leapt up and dashed toward the Xiao family's table, intent on seizing the entire pot of meat. A glint of coldness flashed in Su Qingning's eyes. Before she could take action, a stone flew from Xiao Huaishua's sleeve and struck Su Qingji's ankle. He lost his footing and fell to the ground with a loud thud, the impact shaking the very earth beneath them. "Ouch, that hurts." Su Qingji cried out in agony. Rolling on the ground, "I want to eat meat. Why can you eat meat while I am left with nothing but wilted vegetable leaves? If you want to let me eat, then none of you should eat." His eyes glinted with malice as he sprang up, rushing towards the table to overturn the food, determined to spoil the feast for the Xiao family. Xiao Huaishua, feeling exasperated, prepared to teach him a lesson when, at that moment, Anshin seemed to sense the impending danger and rushed towards Su Qingji, using all her strength to drag him back. He was pulled along like a rag doll, still unwilling to relent, wailing, "Mother, I want to eat meat. I don't care, I want it now." In these times, even the lowest of servants hardly had meat to eat once a month, let alone a banished criminal. Anshin could hardly procure meat for him, so she tearfully offered him her share of plain steamed bread. "Jir, don't cry. Just bear with it for now, and eat this bun to fill your stomach." Su Qingji, filled with resentment, swatted the bun from her hand. "This bun is as hard as a rock. Whoever wants it can have it. I said I want meat." Yes, meat. Mother will certainly find a way for you to have meat," Anshin coaxed, whispering a plan into Su Qingji's ear. After hearing her scheme, he gradually quieted down, still in disbelief. He asked again, "Is what you said true?" With a face full of tenderness, Anshin gently patted his back, assuring him, "When has Mother ever deceived you? Leave this to me. If I promise you will eat meat, you will certainly eat it." When she raised her head again, the expressions of Anshin and her son shifted from resentment to deep calculation. Su Qingji, now quiet yet still hungry, picked up the hard bun from the ground and began to chew. The surrounding members of the Su family sighed in regret, realizing they had nearly missed the opportunity to overturn the Xiao family's table and spoil their feast. Watching the Xiao family enjoy their meal was more unbearable than their own hunger. Su Qingning sipped the delectable meat soup her grandmother had served her, ignoring the resentment and scheming glances from the Su family. Having lived 2 lives, she had witnessed many who despised her but could not extinguish her. Were they not still living well? If these people had the audacity, they should come forth and dance before her. She would certainly show them what it means to refuse the path to heaven while inviting disaster upon themselves. After the Xiao family had their fill, they gathered their dishes and returned to their rooms. Noticing that no one was paying attention to her side, Su Qingning quietly leaned towards Xiao Huaishua and whispered, "Don't sleep just yet. I will come to find you later." Chapter 23. A new invention by Xiao Huaishua instinctively stiffened at her words, feeling Su Qingning's warm breath brush against his ear, sending a tingle throughout his body. His mind momentarily faltered. "Cough. This is not the place for such private matters." He stammered. "What are you talking about?" Su Qingning's face flushed with indignation as she shot him a glare. "I meant that after everyone has gone to sleep, I will come to treat your leg ailment. Where did your mind wander off to?" Xiao Huaishua's face turned even redder than hers, resembling a boiled egg. He could only cover his mouth with a fist, coughing to mask his embarrassment. "All right, I will wait for you tonight." As night descended, the inn's dining hall gradually quieted. Though the large communal sleeping area was exceedingly rudimentary, it was in limited supply. Most of the exiles, lacking funds, or having failed to secure a room, were crammed into the narrow cattle pen. With hundreds of people squeezed together, there was no room to stretch their legs. And the stench of livestock waste filled the air as soon as they closed their eyes. However, the weary travelers paid little mind to the modest conditions and quickly fell into a deep slumber. The Su family managed to gather enough funds for a large communal room, with over 30 people crammed into a 10-person bunk. The various concubines, who had long harbored animosity towards one another, now found themselves in close quarters, leading to an uproar. One moment, someone accidentally kicked another. The next, another tugged at someone's clothes, followed by a slap across the face. The cacophony of voices became unbearable, leaving Su Bingxing with a splitting headache, lamenting his decision to take in so many concubines. Observing the chaos, the squabbling among the concubines escalated into a full-blown brawl, the noise echoing throughout the inn. It wasn't until several officials arrived and dealt harshly with the most unruly of the concubines that the Su family finally quieted down. In contrast, the Xiao family enjoyed a much quieter evening. Grandmother Liuqing requested a screen from the innkeeper to enclose a bathing tub, allowing each person to bathe in turn. After a long day under the sun, their clothes and shoes had become utterly filthy. Su Qingning directly instructed Xiao AI to replicate weathered clothing and shoes for everyone using the 3D printer, handing them out for a change. After all, she had no desire to endure the harsh existence of an exiled individual. It was far better to abandon pretense and allow them to acclimate to her uniqueness sooner rather than later. The members of the Xiao family stared in astonishment at the seemingly sweat-stained, yet clean and fragrant garments, turning them over repeatedly in disbelief. Though they were already aware that the third sister-in-law possessed a hint of magical prowess, witnessing such extraordinary abilities firsthand left them momentarily speechless. Xiao Qingya tugged at the large mud stains on her clothes for quite some time, but not a speck of dust emerged. Her eyes widened in amazement, and she could not help but exclaim, "Wow, third sister-in-law is truly a fairy. I wish I could be as remarkable as her." Lu Qing scrutinized the imprinted stains for a while, and after a fleeting moment of astonishment, his expression shifted to one of deep concern. He solemnly inquired, "Ningning, you have shown great kindness to our dear grandmother. Please tell her honestly, does frequently using your magical abilities deplete your strength? If it does, we shall endure any hardship to prevent you from using your powers again." Hearing this, the Xiao family members looked at Su Qingning with equal concern. Warmth filled Su Qingning's heart as she realized that they were more worried about her than themselves, confirming her belief in this family. For the time being, she had no means to explain her extraordinary abilities to them, and being regarded as possessing magical powers seemed rather favorable. She smiled at Lu Qing and assured, "Grandmother, rest assured, utilizing my powers not only does not drain my vitality, but it also enhances my proficiency and strength with each use." Instantly, a collective sigh of relief swept through the group, allowing them to don their new garments with ease. At that moment, Su Qingning suddenly heard a somewhat sycophantic voice from within her mind. Sister Su, come quickly and see my new invention, perfume." Su Qingning focused her thoughts and glanced over to see several small glass bottles on the workspace, labeled, "Old pickled smell, manly sweat odor, granny's stinky feet." What repulsive concoctions. Yet, perhaps they weren't entirely useless. Su Qingning picked up the manly sweat odor and inhaled. The scent was indistinguishable from that of everyone's old clothes. She tapped the screen of Xiao AI with her thoughts, praising, "Well done. Tomorrow, before we head out, spray a bit for everyone, even at close quarters. No one will discern any flaws in their garments." Xiao AI, thrilled by the compliment, responded with exuberance, "Hee, your satisfaction is my greatest recognition. By the way, Sister Su, when it comes to post-service ratings, could you give me a 5-star review?" Su Qingning couldn't help but twitch her lips in amusement. "Understood, just keep up the good work." The bedding and pillows provided at the inn were both filthy and foul-smelling, which Su Qingning had no desire to use. She instructed Xiao AI to replicate new bedding that appeared identical to the old. She stored the old ones in her space and planned to replace them before their departure the next day. The Xiao family had grown accustomed to such occurrences. Lu Qing, along with several women, busied themselves tidying the room, ensuring Su Qingning was not allowed to assist. Before long, the previously unsightly bed was transformed into a refreshing and clean space, rejuvenated anew. Xiao Qingya, her little hands clutching the fragrant quilt, rolled about on the bed with glee. Witnessing such comfort, the others wore expressions of gratitude, reflecting on how they could never have enjoyed such a pleasant existence on the path of exile without Ningning's intervention. They contemplated how best to care for Ningning in return for her kindness. It was only the Su family, a pack of old dogs, who failed to recognize her worth. They could have indulged Ningning, yet those old dogs had mistreated her for so many years. As the candlelight flickered out, exhaustion enveloped them, and soon they drifted into slumber. Su Qingning listened to the rhythmic sounds of their breathing, preparing to awaken Xiao Huaishua beside her when she suddenly heard a faint rustling outside the window. Chapter 24, Urgent Online. What to do about the patient's perfect figure. Su Qingning focused her attention and discerned a distant female voice, slightly breathless, saying, "Lord Guan, please don't rush. It's inconvenient here with so many eyes. Let us go to that cave over there. Then came a lewd male voice. Heh, filthy woman. You were so provocative earlier. Now you're shy? Hurry up and give me a kiss. Su Qingning pondered why these voices sounded so familiar when Xiao Ai's mischievous voice echoed in her mind. Sister Su, Sister Su. The back-end has detected a juicy scoop related to you. Su Qingning replied, do tell. Su Bingxing has sent Su Qingru to seduce Officer Zhang De, intending to latch onto him and ease the Su family's hardships during exile. Su Qingning realized why the voices sounded so familiar. It was Su Qingru and Zhang De. The original owner's despicable father was indeed shameless enough to exploit his own daughter without hesitation. However, Su Qingru was no saint either. Su Qingning recalled how this woman often bullied the original owner alongside Su Qingyin. Sister Su. Su Qingru has long harbored resentment towards you and seems ready to incite Zhang De against you. Should we take action to stop her? Su Qingning responded. To prevent her from consorting with others? Let us observe for now. Since Su Qingru is so eager to find trouble, I don't mind facilitating her lesson on where trouble truly originates. Just then, her hand was suddenly enveloped by a warm grip. Xiao Huaishua, with a hint of concern, said, I have arranged for some hidden guards to follow us. Shall I send someone to eliminate them? He had overheard Su Qingru and Zhang De's conversation, and due to his profound internal strength, he even grasped more of their foul language directed at Su Qingning. His heart ached at the thought of how she had survived within the malicious environment of the Prime Minister's residence for over a decade. Su Qingning met his gaze and saw the pale moonlight filtering through the window, casting a soft glow. Xiao Huaishua's eyes, reminiscent of a galaxy, were filled with tenderness and compassion. At that moment, her heart skipped a beat, almost succumbing to the depths of his affection. She averted her gaze, clearing her throat to mask her inner turmoil. Surely, there was no need to use a sledgehammer to crack a nut. They were merely two insignificant individuals. Hardly a cause for concern. Seeing her unwavering confidence, a smile crept onto Xiao Huaishua's lips. All right, I shall heed your wishes. Su Qingning ceased to elaborate, propping herself up beside Xiao Huaishua and lifting the quilt, preparing to examine his leg ailment more closely, understanding that Su Qingning would tend to him at night. Xiao Huaishua had deliberately arranged their bedding close to the window. The 8 of them shared a spacious sleeping arrangement for 10, with ample space. The 4th brother slept by the door, with a vacant space in between for storing items, followed by their mother, grandmother, and 2 sisters-in-law. Next to the 2nd sister-in-law, there was another empty space for miscellaneous items, and then came Su Qingning and Xiao Huaishua's bedding. As several individuals lay soundly asleep, Su Qingning, undeterred, swiftly pulled down Xiao Huaishua's trousers. Previously, she had only hastily diagnosed his pulse to grasp the general situation. I must examine your leg to expedite your recovery. This marked the first occasion Xiao Huaishua found himself in such close proximity to a woman. His mind was already in disarray, and his heart raced uncontrollably. Before he could react, a chill enveloped his leg, and his face turned crimson. Fortunately, Su Qingning appeared earnest and did not notice his embarrassment. She gently pressed her fingers against his calf and inquired, Do you feel anything here? No. And here? A little. What about here? Still nothing. Why do you speak so haltingly? Su Qingning lifted her gaze and immediately recognized his awkwardness, igniting her playful spirit. Her small hand gradually ascended, lightly pinching his waist. And how about here? I don't feel anything. I can feel everything above my legs. Xiao Huaishua felt a momentary blankness in his mind, involuntarily shuddering as warmth spread across his body. He was vexed and embarrassed. As a seasoned warrior renowned as a god of war, how could he be so easily flustered by a mere girl? Observing his expression, which seemed to yearn to vanish into the ground, Su Qingning decided against further teasing him. After a meticulous examination, she stated, The spiritual spring water I provided you during the day possesses the ability to strengthen bones and cleanse impurities. Long-term consumption will help eliminate toxins from your body. However, this method is rather slow. Although your mobility is limited to your legs, toxins have already spread throughout your body. I can use silver needles to expedite their expulsion. Is that acceptable? Without a moment's hesitation, Xiao Huaishua replied, Yes. He appeared like a docile little wolf dog, submissively allowing her to manipulate him. Su Qingning was momentarily taken aback and asked, You trust me so easily? Yes, I trust you. Their eyes met, and Su Qingning felt as though his captivating gaze could see through everything, seemingly vast enough to embrace all her virtues and flaws. An inexplicable flutter quickened her heartbeat, making her feel somewhat uneasy. She hastily shifted the conversation, Then let us begin. Su Qingning unfastened Xiao Huaishua's garment. After delicately inserting several needles into his legs, she proceeded to the abdomen, chest, and arms. Soon, Xiao Huaishua felt an intense pain radiating from his chest and abdomen, akin to having his insides torn apart. The agony caused veins to throb at his temples, and his body trembled involuntarily. Yet, fearing to awaken his sleeping family, he clenched his teeth, suppressing any sound. As time ticked by, dark streams of energy began to coalesce within his limbs, gradually rising. The pain was evidently severe, his brows furrowed tightly, and beads of sweat cascaded down his forehead. The needles were required to remain in place for a quarter of an hour before being removed. At that moment, Su Qingning found herself momentarily free and realized just how extraordinarily well-built Xiao Huaishua was. She recited the Qingxin mantra several times to calm her racing heart. When she regained her focus, she noticed the time had come. With a flick of her sleeve, she withdrew the needles from Xiao Huaishua's body. With a sudden exhalation, he expelled a mouthful of dark blood into the wooden tub nearby. Instantly, the intense pain dissipated, and his body felt significantly lighter. Su Qingning wiped the blood from his lips and the sweat from his forehead, then took his pulse at his wrist. She couldn't help but exhale with relief and smiled. You indeed possess a physique that is naturally superior. Your recovery is much swifter than others. If you drink more spiritual spring water and undergo a few more treatments, you will be fully healed. Xiao Huaishua now felt his lower limbs considerably lighter than before. With great effort, he could even slowly lift his right foot. Hearing Su Qingning's assurance of imminent recovery filled him with astonishment and joy, his eyes brightening. It had been said that even the renowned medical sage deemed his leg ailment incurable. Su Qingning's claim on her wedding day that she could heal him had already shocked him, and now she asserted that his recovery was just around the corner. What kind of treasure had he married? Xiao Huaishua gazed silently at the stunning maiden bathed in silvery moonlight, feeling as though this blissful reality was almost too good to be true. Could it be that heaven, unwilling to see the Xiao family, known for their loyalty, suffer, had sent a little fairy to save him? Like a weary traveler who had traversed darkness for a millennium, finally catching a glimpse of light. His nose tinged with a hint of warmth, and his dense lashes trembled gently. After a long moment, he solemnly expressed, "Thank you." The girl smiled mischievously, her face radiant like jade under the moonlight. "And how do you plan to repay me?" Xiao Huaishua fell silent for a moment, then earnestly replied, "I will accompany you." Before he could finish, both heard a disturbance from afar. A sense of alarm surged within them, and their bodies stiffened. In the next instant, Xiao Huaishua swept Su Qingning beneath him, shielding her with his body. Chapter 25. Underestimating the lady's strength at that moment. Both Su Qingning and Xiao Huaishua were attuned to the sounds outside. Su Qingning furrowed her brow and whispered, "Approximately a dozen skilled martial artists are approaching. It seems to be the same group that monitored us this morning." Xiao Huaishua nodded slightly. "Yes, they are about to make their move." "Whose men are they?" "Uncertain. They appear to belong to the Third Prince's Heifeng riders." Su Qingning contemplated seriously. The original text did not mention the Third Prince sending assassins after Xiao Huaishua. Perhaps her presence had altered the storyline. They fell silent, holding their breaths in anticipation of the impending confrontation. In the stillness, they realized how closely they were positioned. Earlier, in a moment of urgency, Xiao Huaishua had pressed her entirely beneath him. Su Qingning felt his warm breath brushing against her ear, sending tingles coursing through her body. The softness of her body pressed against his firm chest, and their hearts, separated by mere inches, seemed to beat faster than usual. Suddenly, the sound of shattering windows echoed closer. Moments later, two slender figures clad in black descended before the window, having previously administered sleep-inducing powder to nearby rooms. They skillfully broke the window and blew a stream of yellow powder inside. Su Qingning controlled the airflow with her mind, directing the powder to the adjacent wall. The two figures in black detected no abnormalities, retracting their tubes and leaping into the next room. "Third brother? Third sister-in-law?" A faint voice came from the other side of the bed. Xiao Huaijin had been roused by the commotion outside, his sharp gaze scanning the surroundings. Lu Qing, born into a military family, also awoke at that moment, scrutinizing the window intently. Xiao Huaishua gestured for them to remain calm. The two fell silent, patiently waiting for the adversary's next move. After a while, a piercing signal sounded from outside. It appears that those outside have already confused the individuals within the post station, and the time to act has come. Outside the window, shadows swiftly descended, and with a crack, a figure clad in black pried opened the window and swiftly entered. Upon seeing that all the members of the Xiao family were unconscious, a sneer emerged on his lips as he addressed those outside. "There is no need for you all to come in. I alone can handle the people inside." No sooner had he spoken than a silver needle shot towards him with an almost imperceptible speed. The figure in black barely had time to evade before he felt a sharp pain in his neck, and in an instant, he collapsed to the ground. "Boss." The individuals outside, hearing no response for an extended period, sensed something amiss and hurriedly broke through the windows. As they entered, several silver flashes illuminated the room. Before they could react, they suddenly found themselves pierced by glowing azure silver needles. Their bodies went limp, and they fell to the ground like dumplings, breathless in an instant. A moment of silence enveloped the room. Xiao Huaishua thought to himself, "Indeed, I have underestimated my wife's capabilities." His expression remained stoic as he retrieved the concealed weapons he had not yet used. Xiao Huaiqing gasped in disbelief, and Lu Qing's eyes widened in shock. Both maintained their tense stances, ready to spring into action, only to witness the swift elimination of the Black Wind Riders by Su Qingning. Xiao Huaiqing's mouth fell open in astonishment, and after a brief pause, he murmured, "Sister-in-law is truly formidable." Lu Qing, momentarily stunned, quickly regained her composure and jumped up to pull Su Qingning aside, while Xiao Huaishuo repeatedly checked to ensure that they were unharmed before letting out a long sigh of relief. Su Qingning felt warmth in her heart and comforted them, saying, "Grandmother, do not worry, I am fine." She then resumed her serious demeanor, stating, "This was merely a small squad. The bigger threat remains outside. Fourth brother, please ensure everyone's safety. I shall return shortly." After swiftly changing into black attire behind the screen, she turned and leapt into the darkness beyond the window. Third brother, sister-in-law going alone. Could it be dangerous? Xiao Huaiqin, struggling to keep pace with Su Qingning's swift actions, sought Xiao Huaishua's opinion. Lu Qing also wore a worried expression. Although she recognized Ningning's prowess, she still viewed her as a child in need of care. Xiao Huaishua fixed his gaze on a luxurious carriage parked not far away, and with a calm demeanor, he remarked, "The one who has arrived is the vice commander of the Black Wind Riders, Feng Detian. This man is foolish and ignorant, relying solely on his status as a cousin to the third prince to have attained his current position. Your sister-in-law should be able to handle him." Unbeknownst to him, tension had crept onto his own face, his gaze glued to the departing Su Qingning. The other two, hearing this, let out a sigh of relief, yet they remained vigilant, attentive to the movements of Su Qingning. Meanwhile, in another room of the post station, dim light flickered as Liang, the deputy of the Exile team, paced restlessly, frowning. "Cousin, are we truly going to stand idly by while those people attack the Xiao family?" Zhao Jinhai, the assistant captain, also wore a troubled expression. "What else can we do? We are but lowly beings. How can we interfere in the matters of the nobles?" Liang seemed agitated, fixing a serious gaze on Zhao Jinhai. "Brother, that is the illustrious Xiao family. Have you forgotten that 10 years ago, our family was captured by the Shirong, and it was the then-war king Xiao Buliang who rescued us? The Xiao family has fought countless battles since, providing us common folk with the peace we enjoy today. How can we stand by and do nothing in the face of our saviors?" Zhao Jinhai's expression was equally conflicted. "But what can we do? We are no match for the Black Wind Riders. Rushing out will not save them." Liang, in a fit of agitation, circled the room a few more times, seemingly making an important decision. With determined eyes, he looked at Zhao Jinhai and declared, "How can we know we cannot save them if we do not try? Brother, grandfather told me on his deathbed to remember the great kindness of the Xiao family for a lifetime. I fear that if I remain here in silence, I will never find peace of mind. When we meet again in 100 years, how will I explain my inaction?" With that, he charged out without a backward glance. Alas, Zhao Jinhai sighed in resignation, downing the remainder of his drink, and followed suit. On the other side of the post station, after Su Qingning leapt from the window, guided by her companion, she soon found the opulent carriage not far from the post station. Without hesitation, she set up a silenced sniper rifle on a large stone and aimed it at the Black Wind Riders standing solemnly outside the carriage. At that moment, a voice suddenly erupted from the nearby bushes. "Who goes there?" Chapter 26. What if I want your life instead? Years of training in the special forces allowed Su Qingning to react instinctively. Without a moment's hesitation, she aimed and fired a shot at the man's head. The sound of a faint crack echoed as the Black Wind Rider, who had emerged to investigate, felt a sharp pain in his forehead before collapsing to the ground. The body falling caused leaves and grass to rustle in the vicinity. Nearby Black Wind Riders sensed something amiss. "Captain, there is movement over there. Take a small team to investigate." A squad leader led a 10-man team towards the source of the disturbance. Su Qingning remained silent, lying in wait for them to approach. With fluid precision, she loaded her rifle, aimed, and fired in one seamless motion, taking down the 10 men silently. She swiftly climbed a nearby tree and confirmed her suspicion. Although there were only a few Black Wind Riders near the opulent carriage, over 100 were concealed deeper within the woods. Setting up her silenced sniper rifle once more, she loaded, aimed, and fired. This sequence of actions had been practiced countless times in her past life, so she executed it with such proficiency that it required no conscious thought. In an instant, she unleashed a barrage of shots. The Black Wind Riders below, unaware of the impending danger, were met with the sound of shattering skulls as they succumbed to unconsciousness. The leading officer, momentarily dazed, glanced at his comrades, who fell like straw men, one after another. Terror gripped his heart, and before he could ascertain the enemy's location, he too lost consciousness. In less than the span of a tea break, over 100 men in the forest lay lifeless on the ground, the air thick with the faint scent of blood, enveloping the surroundings in a haunting silence. Yet those near the carriage remained oblivious to the imminent peril. The gilded carriage swayed gently, the interior occasionally echoing with foul language. Feng Detian, inebriated, downed his drink and, with a lewd grin, leaned towards the face of the half-dressed beauty in his arms, taking a deep breath as he savored her scent. What a tempting little enchantress. The carriage is too cramped for any real fun. I shall see how my lord deals with you upon our return. No, my lord, please, I am so frightened. The disdain and murderous intent flickered in the beauty's eyes before she feigned shyness, burying her face in Feng Detian's embrace. "Humph, you say no? But your body is quite honest." Feng Detian smirked wickedly, reaching for his cup once more, only to find the wine jars inside the carriage empty. Infuriated, he bellowed, "Xiao Anzi, why is there no wine left?" Xiao Anzi knelt on the ground, cold sweat trickling down his brow. "Young master, the wine we brought is all consumed. Since we are not far from Yingtianfu, shall we return for more? Foolish wretch, you cannot even handle such a trivial matter." Feng Detian roared in fury, kicking Xiao Anzi off the carriage. "Where are the men I dispatched? Why have they not returned yet? A bunch of useless fools. To capture a few prisoners in shackles. Not only did they resort to using sleeping powder, but they also sent 2 teams to flank them. How long has it been? And they still have not brought anyone back." Xiao Anzi remained on his knees, attempting to appease him. "Young master, perhaps it would be wise to allow Miss Qingqiu to attend to your rest. Xiao Huaishua is merely a cornered beast. I trust the 2 teams of Haifenki will return shortly." "Humph, a pack of useless miscreants. How dare they make this young master wait so long?" Inside the carriage, the sound of porcelain shattering and the gentle comfort of a woman's voice momentarily soothed Feng Dishan's anger. However, he could not help but harbor resentment towards his cousin, the 3rd prince. Was it necessary for the esteemed young master of the Wayward Duke to intervene for a mere prisoner like Xiao Huaishua? On such a sweltering day, wouldn't it be more pleasant to remain at home, embraced by a few beautiful concubines? Yet the 3rd prince, in his mysterious ramblings, insisted that he had received intelligence indicating that Xiao Huaishua possessed a jade talisman capable of shaking the world. It was this very knowledge that had prompted the emperor to hastily order the extermination and exile of the entire Zhang family. Yet, despite a thorough search, the emperor's men found nothing. The 3rd prince had urged him to personally retrieve the jade talisman, even if it could not be found. They were to capture the entire Xiao family and interrogate them until the location of that talisman was revealed. Feng Detian scoffed internally, disdainful of the 3rd prince's excessive caution. As he idly played with the silky hair of the beauty in his arms, he turned to see a woman in black emerging from the depths of the forest. She was graceful, her skin as smooth as cream, her eyebrows like willow leaves, and her nose delicately shaped. Though clad in simple black attire, her unparalleled beauty was impossible to conceal. She radiated a cool and distant aura that drew one in, despite the sense of aloofness. Feng Dishan's eyes widened, and he drooled at the sight, immediately losing interest in the beauty beside him. He beckoned the woman in black, leeringly saying, "Oh, where did this little beauty come from? Come to your brother, and I shall grant you anything you desire." Su Qingning felt a chill run down her spine. Yet her face remained composed as she approached the carriage with a faint smile. "You wish to grant me anything?" Feng Detian, unable to contain himself, reached out to embrace Su Qingning's waist. "Of course, as long as you serve me well, you can have anything you desire. Then I desire your life." Su Qingning replied coldly. With her fingers clawed like talons, she swiftly snapped Feng Dishan's neck. Feng Dishan's hand remained outstretched in an attempt to touch Su Qingning. Yet he had no time to comprehend what had transpired before feeling a sharp pain in his neck. His eyes rolled back, and he was dead. Such audacity. "You dare harm the young master. Quickly, save the young master. Haifenki, capture that woman alive." The surrounding men were stunned. Just a moment ago, they had leered at Su Qingning, hoping that once the young master grew tired of her, they might take turns with the stunning beauty. Who would have thought that she would be so ruthless, breaking the neck of the esteemed young master of the Wayward Duke without a second thought? All drew their swords, preparing to capture the assailant. However, the remaining dozen or so men were no match for Su Qingning. She did not even need to draw her sniper rifle. As she dodged and maneuvered, countless poisoned silver needles flew from her sleeves, capable of causing instant death with a single prick. Moreover, Su Qingning had trained tirelessly in her past life with these silver needles, almost always hitting vital points. Before long, only a dozen corpses remained around the carriage. Lin Qingqiu, though shocked by Su Qingning's agility, managed to maintain her composure, grinding her teeth to suppress any sounds. The original text had mentioned this person. She was innocent and kind-hearted, yet had suffered greatly. Her mother and sister had been brutally assaulted to death by Feng Detian, and her father and brother had also been killed by Haifenki. In pursuit of vengeance, she had resorted to using her beauty to get close to Feng Detian. Su Qingning had no intention of making things difficult for a pure-hearted woman. She merely coldly warned, "As you have seen, I can easily kill you. Today's events must not be disclosed, otherwise you shall bear the consequences." With that, she turned to leave. She had just heard sounds of fighting coming from the relay station. As Feng Detian had said, 2 waves of Haifenki were indeed flanking. She had only dealt with one group and was uncertain about the current situation of the Xiao family. Suddenly, she heard a heavy thud behind her, a knee striking the ground. Turning, she saw Lin Qingqiu bowing 3 times in quick succession. "I have acted as bait, lingering beside Feng Detian, simply to avenge my parents and siblings. Now that you have killed Feng Detian, you are my benefactor. My Lin family has been engaged in commerce for generations, and I believe I possess some talent for it. If you do not disdain me, I would be honored to follow you and repay your kindness." The original text did mention that the Lin family was a moderately sized merchant family. Unfortunately, in this era, merchants were often looked down upon, which had led to Feng Dishan's treachery against them. Given such an opportunity presented to her, Su Qingning had no reason to refuse. I am bound for Lingnan with my family. In that case, you may lead your people there first. It is the height of summer. Yet we have had no rain for several months. I fear a drought is imminent, followed by potential famine and plague. If you have any money, stock up on food, medicine, and essential supplies. To her surprise, Lin Qingqiu's eyes brightened at these words, as though she had encountered a kindred spirit. Stammering, she replied, Miss, what you say resonates with me. I have dreamed of such things. I shared them with many, yet they did not believe me. This detail had not been mentioned in the original text. However, Su Qingning quickly realized that Lin Qingqiu must have experienced some trauma, perhaps reborn or awakened with the ability to foresee the future. She reassured her, this must be the reward for your habitual kindness. If the scenes from your dreams continue to manifest, act according to their warnings. Thank you, Miss, for your guidance. Lin Qingqiu, tearfully grateful, bowed deeply 3 more times before departing. Those she had previously encountered had dismissed her as speaking nonsense, some even claiming she was possessed by demons. Only this benefactor did not find her strange, but instead offered her patient guidance. Lin Qingqiu knew well how fortunate she was to have met Su Qingning. As Su Qingning watched Lin Qingqiu leave, she swiftly gathered the valuable items from Feng Detian and Hai Fengqi, along with the carriage and over 100 fine horses, into her space before hastening towards the relay station. At that moment, the fighting at the relay station was nearing its conclusion. Dozens of Hai Fengqi corpses lay strewn across the ground. Xiao Huijin had already freed himself from his shackles and was wreaking havoc with a stolen knife. Xiao Huishua, too, was intently focused on the battle, his sleeves fluttering as dozens of hidden weapons flew forth, striking true. Observing the exceptional skills of the Xiao brothers as they protected their family with unwavering resolve, the leading black-clad figure was driven into a corner, cackling wickedly. The trigger was pulled, unleashing a torrent of deadly concealed weapons. Xiao Huiqin and Xiao Huishua desperately shielded the women of the Xiao family from the onslaught. Blades, infused with the scent of rust and blood, sliced past the Xiao clan members, continuing their relentless trajectory towards the rear. Liang Di, the anguished cry of Zhao Jinhai pierced the air. Turning, the crowd beheld a concealed weapon, which had narrowly missed the Xiao family, hurtling towards Li Yang's forehead. The speed was such that evasion seemed impossible. Li Yang, a mere lowly servant with only rudimentary skills, found himself utterly defenseless against the lethal projectiles wielded by the royal guards. He felt a blinding flash approach, an icy dread enveloping him as he stood on the precipice of death for the first time in his life. Zhao Jinhai, trailing behind, was equally distraught. His eyes ablaze with fury, his voice breaking with despair. Liang Di, quickly dodge. Just as the weapon was about to pierce Li Yang's brow, a silver needle shot in from afar, deflecting the deadly projectile. Li Yang felt himself yanked back from the brink of death, the tension in his body dissipating as he collapsed to the ground. Zhao Jinhai rushed over, meticulously examining him, and upon ensuring Li Yang was unharmed, he breathed a sigh of relief. The overwhelming joy of having narrowly escaped death led the burly man to embrace Li Yang, weeping uncontrollably. Oh, Liang Di, that was so perilous. Thank goodness you are safe. If just a moment had been different, my cousin, whom I have watched grow up, would have been lost to me forever. The members of the Xiao family, witnessing Su Qingning's timely intervention to save Li Yang, exhaled in collective relief. After all, the Black Wind Riders had come to assassinate them. Even if they had dispatched the entire group, the Xiao family could feign ignorance. The royal Third Prince's faction would not openly seek retribution either. However, Zhao Jinhai and his brother, tasked with escorting the Xiao family, would face severe consequences should anything happen to them. Xiao Huiqin and Xiao Huishua swiftly dealt with the remaining Black Wind Riders. The other women of the Xiao family, having been startled awake, now cast anxious glances towards Su Qingning. Upon seeing the bodies of over 100 Black Wind Riders, they stood in shock, their mouths agape. While they were aware of Su Qingning's formidable prowess, witnessing her silently eliminate such a multitude in an instant was beyond their comprehension. Lu Qing and Zhang Qingxue's hearts raced, and they gasped several times to regain their composure. Young Xiao Qingya, displaying a fearless naivety, blinked her large eyes in wonder, staring at Su Qingning with an expression of adoration. Sister-in-law is truly incredible. How can I become as formidable as her? Xiao Huishua, however, pondered more deeply. He knew that Su Qingning possessed no internal energy. Her ability to slay so many Black Wind Riders in such a brief time must have involved some potent drugs or weapons. What could it be that wielded such devastating power? His little princess seemed like a treasure trove, consistently delivering surprises. Though the Xiao family members had varied thoughts, they all felt immense pride and honor that Su Qingning was willing to openly showcase her abilities before them. In their hearts, they vowed to protect her secret at all costs. Meanwhile, Zhao Jinhai and his brother slowly emerged from their terror, now regarding the multitude of Black Wind Rider corpses with a renewed sense of dread. They were aware that powerful figures in the court had gone to great lengths to seek the lives of the Xiao family. Their appearance in this situation had been motivated by a desire to plead for the safety of the underage Xiao Qingya and Xiao Huiqin, to ensure the survival of the Xiao lineage. Who could have anticipated that the trio would dispatch nearly 200 Black Wind Riders without hesitation? Even more astonishing was that the newlywed Xiao family matriarch had single-handedly vanquished over 100 foes. Could one label her a timid, oppressed noblewoman? They would believe her a reincarnation of a deity of death. The brothers never imagined that their attempt to assist would instead complicate matters and almost cost them their lives, leaving them with feelings of gratitude and shame. Li Yang's emotions surged like waves, eventually settling into calm. Trembling, he bowed deeply to Su Qingning. Madam, this life is yours. I shall heed your every command. Rise. It was but a trivial act, Su Qingning replied, her tone devoid of any emotional fluctuations. She understood that these servants were as expendable as ants, powerless against authority. Despite being aware that they had withheld knowledge of the assassination attempt, she chose not to hold it against them. At that moment, Zhao Jinhai also trembled as he bowed deeply before Su Qingning and the Xiao family. Madam, I acknowledge my wrongdoing. 10 years ago, my family was captured by the Shirong, and it was the former warlord who saved us. Today, knowing there were noble figures plotting to assassinate you, I remained silent, which is a betrayal of my ancestors and my conscience. You, madam, have forgiven my transgressions and saved my cousin's life, showcasing your magnanimity. I, Zhao Jinhai, can no longer be disloyal. From now on, I wish only to serve you. To repay this debt of life. Zhao Jinhai's forehead struck the ground heavily, his sincerity evident. Previously, he had felt only helpless guilt for not being able to assist the Xiao family. Now, having witnessed their strength, he willingly submitted. The prowess of the warlord's wife had surpassed their imaginations. In the presence of such a formidable figure, they could only bow in allegiance. The Xiao family turned their gazes towards Su Qingning, awaiting her decision. Unbeknownst to them, they had grown accustomed to centering their decisions around her. Su Qingning glanced at the two men and said coolly, rise. For now, there is nothing you need to do. Everything remains as it is. Mind your words. In the original text, these two men were indeed gallant and clear in their loyalties. Having successfully brought them back into the fold today would certainly facilitate matters in the future. Thank you, madam, for your willingness to accept us. The brothers, beyond their desire to repay their debt, felt a thrill of excitement. They sensed that this warlord's wife was no ordinary person. Following her would undoubtedly lead to a bright future. The Lu and Li families might even enjoy a prosperous life filled with abundance. Of course, years later, as they dined on sumptuous delicacies daily alongside Su Qingning, they would fondly reminisce about those early days, realizing how poverty had constrained their imaginations. They would profoundly thank the decision to support the warlord's wife. Their heartfelt excitement moved Su Qingning, prompting her to assist them in rising. We have been demoted to commoners. You may simply address me as madam. Yes, madam. After issuing a few more instructions, she allowed them to withdraw. Upon returning to her chamber, the Xiao family members surrounded her, eagerly tugging at her clothing to check for injuries. Oh, how you've suffered, Ningning. Let grandmother see if you are hurt. Yes. You must be exhausted, Ningning. Qingya, quickly fetch a glass of water for your sister-in-law. Ah, sister-in-law, why are you covered in so much blood? Are you injured? Su Qingning gazed at the Xia family members, who genuinely cared for her, and felt a slight sting in her nose. With such a wonderful family, what did it matter if she endured a bit of hardship? She patted the hand of her second sister-in-law, who was anxiously checking on her, and comforted her by saying, Sister-in-law, do not worry, these are merely others' blood. Suddenly, her vision darkened, and her body involuntarily lurched forward, nearly causing her to stumble. Ningning, younger sister, sister-in-law. Several anxious voices erupted around her, and Su Qingning found herself enveloped in a fragrant, solid embrace. Chapter 28. As long as we serve our brothers well, Ningning? The clean and melodious voice of Xiao Huaishui reached her ears. Su Qingning experienced a brief moment of dizziness but quickly regained her composure. Feeling the firm contours of Xiao Huaishui's chest, her face flushed with embarrassment, and she hastily sprang to her feet. I am fine. I must have been overly fatigued these past few days, and my body couldn't handle it. The primary issue was that this body had suffered from years of hunger in the Prime Minister's residence, leaving it in a poor state. If she hadn't been consistently drinking the spiritual spring water to nourish herself, she might have already succumbed along the way. Unfazed by her surroundings, Su Qingning seized the water pouch and took several large gulps, noticeably feeling the dizziness dissipate. She let out a sigh of relief. The women of the Xia family, seeing her complexion had turned significantly paler than during the day, expressed their concern. Though Ningning was a woman, she had single-handedly dealt with over 100 Haifeng riders, and the toil was evident. Lu Qing looked at her with worry and asked, Ningning, please be honest with grandmother. Have you overexerted your celestial powers, causing any adverse effects on your body? In her view, there was no such thing as a free lunch. Ningning's abilities seemed too extraordinary. Surely, they must come at the cost of something precious, perhaps even her lifespan. If that were the case, she would prefer Ningning to be a bit more ordinary. Feeling warmth in her heart from her grandmother's concern, Su Qingning gently reassured her, Grandmother, do not worry. I am merely a bit tired, and will be fine after some rest. Upon hearing her words, everyone felt relieved. Lu Qing had initially intended to fetch some brown sugar for her to brew, but realizing that the spiritual water she had consumed was far more effective than sugar water. She abandoned the idea and joined the other women of the Xia family in tidying up the disarray in the room. Ningning, you should lie down and rest for a while. Your mother and sisters-in-law will clean the room, so you can get to bed early. Su Qingning had always been restless, but the members of the Xia family were so formidable that they wouldn't allow her to touch any household chores, even if she merely picked up a broom. Lu Qing would become anxious with her. Reluctantly, she leaned back on the bed for a brief respite. Xiao Huaishua scrutinized Su Qingning's complexion and noted that after she drank the spiritual water, she quickly returned to normal, which eased his mind. He turned to Xiao Huijin and instructed, "Fourth brother, inform our hidden guards to dispose of these corpses far away and to leave traces of the crown prince's personal guards on their bodies and in the surrounding woods." Xiao